You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Woo! August feel like it has flew on by already. Like, I was just getting into the groove and finally feeling like, okay, we're in the, what they call this, the dog days of summer. And it's like all the, thrills and excitement just keeps going. And it's just like, wow, we're really about to get into fall. Like, I'm finally, like, I think I said this last episode, but I was finally getting into the summer and getting into my groove, and now we're about to get into fall. And how do I know? Because it's back to school. I start teaching at Cheney this week. Yes, Professor Ernest is back. I'll be in Cheney teaching freshman seminar basically for this semester. Last semester I was teaching, print media and journalism, but they wanted me to come, do, this freshman seminar. I think because these are freshmen, and I think they want someone younger. I am the youngest professor at Cheney as of right now. So I feel like they kind of want someone that's more relatable or could be relatable to the students, or individuals also who've been senior that understand the ropes in a more advising manner. So I think they're trying to like balance out the energies, because, I think about my freshman seminar when I came to Penn, which was, 12 years ago, 2010, when I had my back to school. And I just remember, like, the professors I remember my first year were people definitely a little bit skewed younger. I think more so on how I felt about discussing, my adjustment, because I came all the way from Houston, Texas to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I felt more comfortable talking to, academics and those who there weren't any in their 20s. I think I had like a professor, like assistant professor, who was in their mid-30s in communication, and he was just very, very nice, and also just very easygoing, because Penn was very intense, and I just remember how helpful he was my first semester. But I think at Cheney it's a lot different. The professors are completely in different departments, and so I think with freshmen that are coming in, they're trying to find people that won't be considered a pushover, because I'm not a pushover. And I also can read between the lines. Like, I'm not going to come in, to class and be like, a Miranda Priestley and be, the devil wears Prada. But I also don't think they should think, oh, this is my homie. Like, we're just going to come. It's not that energy either. But I am excited, because not only am I starting school, my brother is at Temple. He's in sophomore year at Temple, so he's starting his year again. It's like going by so fast. I was just talking to him this week. I was like, wow, you're about to be a sophomore. Like, you did freshman year, and you're here in one piece, and know how this works. So it's time is going by fast, and it's flying by, right? But just the adjustment of it all. So I'm back to school. Professor Ernest is back at Cheney this week, so that's exciting. My schedule is Mondays and Wednesdays, which is really flexible, and I'm in the early, not early, more like late morning, early afternoon section. So that's reasonable. Like last semester, I guess last school year, my classes were a lot more earlier. So getting up and doing all that was a little bit of a stretch. But this is a little bit later and very flexible with my schedule. So Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm back in session. So, I'm ready. My syllabus, my curriculum, everything's all ready. Can't wait to see this batch. And these are first year, so it's like I'm taking that in too. Like, this is they completely do not know college. Like, my class last year, I had a mix of freshmen, sophomores, juniors. I think we had like one senior, but it was a mix. So there are people who kind of knew their way around, but like I'm pretty much making their first impression at Cheney, like their first impression of what they think this school is going to be like and what they think academics are going to be like. I'm one of their first professors, so that I carry that with a lot of privilege, but also a lot of responsibility. And I'm kind of happy that I'm in this role because I do see the side of being an advisor to them while also being educator and kind of being that guide. So I look forward to it. I love it. I love being at a HBCU. I love just the atmosphere. Like, in planning this course for the past 2 weeks, going back to the campus and just, there's something special about HBCUs. I think on the educating side of it, at least it is. It's just be in a classroom and see that many, Black and brown students that are just, optimistic and excited, to be. My educational experience is very different in college, but it takes me back to my high school years because in high school that's all was there. It was mostly Black and brown. A big old high school though, Elsik High School. We had 5,000 kids. So it kind of takes me back to my public school education life, my life, in high school and middle school and whatnot. So I think that's what it means to me. Now, granted, college life is very different because these are adults. Yeah, I think everyone is about at least 18 or about to be 18, right? So it's a little different in that regard, but it's that energy, some of the colloquial sayings and the way that we talk and communicate. There's something special there. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it. I'm excited to come back in another year being professor, in addition to everything else I have going on, as you all know, like the book. Super excited. Of course, updates are coming in every week, as always. Not the one I wanted to tell you all this week yet, but the good update is that galleys for my book are about to start being mailed off to members of the literary community. So there are people who had reached out to me and saw that on social media that I was talking about galleys and what are galleys and how does this work. Yes, we're learning about the book world as I go through it. So galleys are basically the main contents of the book, and they can go out physically or electronically via PDF to specific individuals to read advanced copies. So this is basically people are going to be reading. There are some people right now who are about to read this book for the first time ever that are outside of my publisher, my agent, myself, and my editor. Like, this is a very special moment. People are like, well, what about leaks and things? Trust me, leaks, this is the way that they track these books and all the leaks are very rare. There will not be a leak. They're very specific. It's like music. How do you think your favorite albums, get reviewed? Like Rolling Stone may review an album or stuff. People, there is a small select few people that get to see the special, the very, first edition of the book. And it's not like friends and family and people like that. It's people who have written a book, who are close literary friends of mine, people that I admire in the industry. And I reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to read my book and see it? And if you love it, can you give us a great quote? Can you tell us, what you thought about, what stood out to you, whatever feedback it is. And it goes out to a small select few. Some media, but not a lot of media. Mostly we're looking at authors. We're looking at people who are, definitely up top that's interested in writing a very big review for a major publication. It's a very, very curated list. And, it's exciting and it's nerve-wracking because you're like, okay, outside of my bubble of folks who've seen it, it's going to be interesting to see how other people feel about it, how other people read it and what they get out of it and what stands out to them. So it's not, I'm not nervous, but it's a little, a little anxious maybe, but I get a little jitters. I'm a little, like, ooh, but in a good way. I'm excited in a good way. I'm not nervous. I don't think nervous describes it. I know I wrote a good book. I feel good about the book. I love the book. I've reread the book last week. I love it. I think it's great. But and also the people around me do too. And we're very different people. So but I'm excited to see other people read it now, and especially with all the conversation about cancel culture in general. So yeah, that's happening. So there are people who are reading advanced copies. I think there's like PDFs, like there's very like sensory PDFs that are going direct email. And I think there's going to be a very, very limited number of these like small advanced copy bounds of books. I've just recently got an advanced copy of a book myself that I read for another author who is incredible, Cheney Hubbard. She has a really good book that is coming out in November that I cannot wait for you all to dive into. Her book's coming out much earlier than mine, clearly. Mine's is coming out February. But she has this really incredible new book that is coming out in November. And I want to make sure I say the whole title because I don't want to miss out. So it's a book about without putting all the information out there. It's a book about women in hip hop. Ride or Die. The book is called Ride or Die, A Feminist Manifesto for the Well-Being of Black Women. And it talks about it's basically a combination of cultural criticism and pop culture history to just basically show how hip hop has sidelined Black women's identity and their emotional well-being. But it also is explaining a lot of context. Like this book comes out November 8th, 2022. That might sound familiar because, hello, general election, midterm elections. So it's coming out at a very contentious time in American history. But it's a book that is this super dope. So I've gotten a chance to read it. It's going to definitely be a real conversation starter. I haven't read anything like it. I've heard, just anything in this current era that is exploring feminism in this way, but through Black women's experience through hip hop, a genre that they have helped elevate, but also it has been one that has marginalized them specifically, right? And she's really talking about this complex relationship between how Black women, like how a certain genre of music has been an expression for them, but also has been an entrapment for them, and not just through the lyrics, but through the actual hip hop culture itself. So it's a lot, and I don't want to tell it all, but it's an incredible book. It is out to pre-order now. Again, it's called Ride or Die, A Feminist Manifesto for the Well-Being of Black Women. It comes out November 8th, but you can pre-order it now. Now, that being said, she is also going to be reading my book. And I've read her book. I loved her book. I love the book. I highly recommend it. It's great music criticism. And she's currently going to start reading my book. She's one of the many authors that are going to get a chance. So it's a lot of cool stuff going on. But I'm excited about that aspect. So yes, Professor, book happening. Went to Atlantic City, like I told you all I would. Mr. Johnson and I went to Ocean, which was fabulous. We went 2 days this time. Last year we went to Ocean for the first time, and it was a quick overnight situation at the Cabanas. Had a good time. But this time we did 2 nights, and it was fabulous. It was fun. We really maximized that trip. Like we had a real vacation. Like Vegas, there was hot spots and good moments, but I was there for a convention, so I was cheating a little bit by acting like it was a vacation. There was vacation moments. But this was just straight up vacation. Like I didn't do any work. My laptop, I barely used my laptop. I didn't do anything really, but just have fun. We got there Friday. We went to Amada, had the tasting menu. Jose Garza's has an Amada in Philadelphia, but the one in Atlantic City and Ocean, I think I like that menu. I don't know. I like that vibe better than Amada in Philly. Now let me be clear. There's an Amada in Old City around Independence in that area. Very nice. Great restaurant. It's the classic. It's the original. So let me just be clear. Amada in Philadelphia is solid, right? But I don't know. Like going to Atlantic City, it's a different vibe. It's a different energy. We're right next to the casino. I don't know. It's a different flair. But I love it. And I love the seating situation and the decor. It's just great. And the food is great too. I think they have most of the same menu. I'm not sure. But my bestie Amanda went for a friend's birthday party previously this week. She went to Mata, and I recommended it to her actually because her friends were asking for restaurant options. I encourage everyone to rather than ask me for restaurant options for folks who don't hang out with me, please use Food Boost. It's on phillymag.com. We have the best food reviews, guides in the region. Seriously, go to the food section at phillymag.com. There are tons of guides. Okay, When I mean guides, I mean like, okay, you're saying, I want to eat Thai food or Greek food. What are the best Greek spots around me or in the area that I should eat from? There is a guide for that. There's bars, happy hours, brunches with happy hours, BYOB spots to get pretzels. I mean, we got guides for every damn thing, every type of food, every type of location. You can look for neighborhoods. You can be like, where are the best spots in West Philly? Where's an Old City? I want Greek. I want to get what we have. Just all types of awkwardly weird, fun, obscure lists of everything that's food related and drink related in town. So there's something for you. I think there was one like more specific. Where are the bottomless, brunch spots in Philly? Like there's lists like that specific. For real. Check it out. Seriously. I kid you not. But when it's this one good friend who is from out of town and she gives me narrow options, then I'm very much like, okay, yeah, I'm out of. But some of y'all, let me tell you, I stopped doing that with everybody because let me just say this. Some of you all don't clarify to me what's the occasion. All of that matters when you ask somebody for something. Like me and my husband are celebrating our anniversary. Where should we go or whatever? Now, please don't ask me this. Please just go to Fubu's. But, Fubu's is the food section. That's what we call the food section for Philly Mag. It's called Fubu's. But, anywho, outside of that, people ask me, like, where can I go for an anniversary or something of that nature. And they don't, they'll say occasion, but then I start naming some restaurants. They're like, oh, that's too high. I'm like, see, you got to curate it for me then. Is this a cheap date? Is this I'm about to propose? Like, what are we doing here? Let me know. Because I don't want to throw, my tastes get a little, I got range here. We could do wings at Pattaya, okay, West Philly, and have a cute little happy. I don't have a bar anymore there, but we could do some wings we talking wings at Pattaya, which will not break the bank at all. Or we talking about, John George's. Like, what are we talking about going out to eat? What are we talking mid-range? Like, because I could get technical. I could be like, are you trying to go somewhere to have a full meal for you and the boo under 100? Or are you trying to drop more than 100? There are restaurants that will provide you good things, but, whatever. So I'm all about that. Like, I also believe, as someone who's a real foodie, that good food can be found at every price range. I don't care. People sit up here and see, I didn't even think I was going to go on this tirade, but here we are. People think that, like, going to expensive restaurants automatically mean that the food is good. I will tell you as a pro, there are some restaurants here that's worth the dollar. Hello, Mark Vetri. Say what you want about him, but that Vetri tasting menu is worth every dollar. And if you want to splurge, that Vetri menu is top tier. It's top tier, baby. It is, right? But then there's places that are super expensive that's not worth that. Do I want to throw shade tonight? Do I want to go there this morning? Do I want to do this afternoon? Because I don't know what time zone you're listening to, so I don't want to leave you out. Let me think. What's a restaurant that's expensive that is overrated? Ooh, I don't want to be. Okay, I'm going to fuck with a chain. Because, see, chains will keep me out of trouble. Because if I name a smaller, or I don't want to do that, I'm going to do a chain. Ocean Prime. Boom. If Ocean Prime is mad, Ocean Prime could be mad. Ocean Prime is overrated. That food is not that great. And the prices for the food is ridiculous. And honestly, the only thing that's good at Ocean Prime are the drinks sometimes because they're a little decorative and a little creative. But outside of that, it's pretty blah. It's not worth the money, in my opinion, right? There are people that will run to Ocean Prime. And listen, Ocean Prime ain't going to lose no money off of me saying this because, listen, the people that like it, like what they like. It's a Coke. We'll talk about Cokes later on in this podcast, okay? Because we're going to talk about it. I know, y'all know what it is. We're going to talk about it. But Ocean Prime, overrated. Don't see the big deal. I can talk about shit that I've went to. Again, I feel like I want to talk about dinner. Not yet, y'all, but like I just really want to be clear. Anything that I talk about, whether I'm critical of it or whatever, I've done it, I've had it, I've seen it, I've tasted it. Don't play me. Ocean Prime, I've been a couple of times. I went different times. I've had the theater menu when I was going to go to the Kimmel and I wanted to get a quick little bite. And then I've had the full-on spread when it first opened a couple years back with Mr. Johnson and I. It was just not. It's not worth the money. So there are people I know who tell me I wouldn't drop Ocean Prime money. Okay, but do you know that right across down the street is Butcher and Singer? You could go to Butcher and Singer before you go to Ocean Prime. Why would you go to Ocean Prime when Butcher Singer is right across the street? You want to get a steak experience. You want to pay around the same price range. Go to Butcher and Singer. You're better off there than going to Ocean Prime. But you need to make some motherfucking reservations. I think people like Ocean Prime because sometimes you can slide up in there without a reservation. Butcher and Singer, you're going to probably need to make a reservation if you're trying to get a nice 8 o'clock on a nice weekend night. That's what I mean. The price ranges are comparable, but the quality isn't. And if you want a cheaper version of Ocean Prime, go across the street to the Cheesecake Factory right over there. Go right over there and get the most expensive steak at Cheesecake Factory, and it tastes probably comparable to one of the most average price steaks at Ocean Prime. I'll go there tonight, this afternoon, this morning, all the time zones. But I'll go there because to me, if we're talking price ranges, and you can always get something cheaper somewhere else that will provide you that quality. If you're looking for a steak, I'll just put that out there. You're better off getting more bang for your buck at a good Chima. Okay, you go to a good Chima on a good night when they really going in there whipping those pots. Will outdo some of your faves. Not all your faves. Okay, it's not touching Alpen Rose clearly, but it could definitely surpass Del Frisco's. It definitely can. I've had some Chima nights that were way better than what I've had at Del Frisco's. I'm just keeping it 100 tonight. This morning, this afternoon. I'm just saying, I'm keeping it 100 today. Judge as you be. If you've gone out to restaurants around Philadelphia and you've had a piece of here, a piece of there, you'll be surprised at the ranges. It's all about quality, and quality doesn't automatically mean expensive because people just go completely like, oh my God, I gotta drop $200, $300 to eat at this or whatever. And I'm like, there are places worth that amount. Like look, Vernick is worth it. Drop over $200 at Vernick. I mean, it's worth it. Now that's worth it, okay? Because Greg Vernick is doing something in this city with his steak that is special. I think Vernick is great. I think Vernick is worth the price. Barclay Prime. I'm gonna sip on my recess real quick. Definitely not a bad place, but I feel like I'm spending more money for the ambiance more than for the food. The food is fine, but I'm just comparing experiences and prices. I'm just saying there's ways to do it. Personally, I'm a tasting menu girl. I love tasting menus. I think if you don't know a restaurant down to the T, go for the tasting menu. Try everything, and also it can comprise the budget because if you start getting a bunch of things a la carte, that's how you jack up the bill sometimes in some of these places. I see people spend ridiculous amounts. Like, you should have just did tasting menu if you was going to spend all that. You bought all your things a la carte. The tasting menu had a taste of everything. So I'm a very tasting menu person. And the best tasting menu in Philadelphia is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So listen, if you're talking about a good time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But again, that's definitely not a cheap dinner and a cheap date. But it's just perfect. It's my favorite restaurant in Philadelphia. I love it. I love it. I love it. Most of my favorite restaurants in Philadelphia have tasting menus. Have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A couple of places got tasting menus or the option of a tasting menu. I don't think Vernick do. I think Vernick Wine Bar did, and we did that, and that was great. That's another great place. But if you're trying to just still curate it, but you still balling, but you want to curate the balling, a tasting menu always, typically does a good job. So, yeah. But I said all to say, went to Ocean in Atlantic City. Amada had a tasting menu there. That tasting menu was good. We also went to American Cut, which we've never been to before. We went to Amada the last time it was at AC. Now we're back. We went again this year. Still great. Good time. But American Cut, great steakhouse. Loved it. Was very fun. Very fun. We had the tomahawk steak for $2 because there was no way on God's green earth either one of us could eat it by ourselves. And then we took it and had it later on that night, some of the leftovers, and we ate them that night. That tomahawk steak is a monster. And that beef, not that beef, the bone, the big-ass bone. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I'm one of those people that like bone marrow. Listen, I'm cultured. Some people think it's barbaric. It is called culture. All of my friends who are Ethiopian understands about bone marrow. Listen, I had a friend who was Eritrean. She was at a restaurant. This was years ago when I was at Penn. And we was eating, I don't know where we was eating at, but it was a big old bone. And I was like, oh, I'm going to throw this away. You going to throw that away? I said, what do you mean? She said, you're not going to eat the marrow? I said, marrow? What are you talking about? Listen, this woman took this bone out. She opened it. I was like, I didn't even. She's like, have some. And I was like, okay. Have some. Was like, oh, wow. You mean all this time I was wasting this bone? I never waste this bone again. I will go for the marrow. And now if you at a really good steak restaurant that has a big, huge one, like it was a big old tomahawk bone with the marrow. Listen, I cleared it out. It's so good. It just takes the dining experience to another level. You have to try it if you haven't tried it. And if you don't know how to eat it or get it, talk to the butcher, whoever the steak. If you got the steak, say, "Hey, I want to try the marrow," or whatever. He'll tell you how to do it, or she'll tell you how to do it. Listen, it's incredible for those who are not into that. But try it. I tried it, so yes, I was super excited about the bone marrow. That was incredible. What else was good? We had the mac and cheese, we had the asparagus, we had the mushrooms. We always kind of do that. We don't ever go too risque with our sides at a steakhouse. But American Cup was phenomenal. It was something for everyone. It was so good. It was very good. It was very, very good. And then we went to a comedy show and saw Russell Peters, and he was funny as fuck. I never heard this Russell Peters guy before until I did some Googling, but he is hilarious. He's a comedian of color that has some very, very colorful jokes. I was like, wow. I was wow. And it was funny because I've been going to a lot of comedy shows lately, especially this year. Like when I was in Vegas, I went to the Eddie Griffin show when we went for my mom's birthday. There was a comedy show at NLC convention that was a part of that. I've been going to a lot of comedy shows. One of the things that a lot of the comedians are trying to do, I mean, I guess I'm new to this, going to these shows, but they're very big on no one recording, like with their cell phones or anything like that. Which is because I guess they're going to use the material for other things, which I get. I often thought in my head, sidebar, I bet now more than ever comedians don't really want to have their stuff on social media because of all the council culture-esque vibes that they sense. Yes, someone who wrote a book on council culture will tell you. I've done some research. I hear a lot. There's some comedians that are very big on that. But also, too, I think it's also with the intimacy of the experience. Like, how would you feel if you had a show where everyone's recording every joke and every material you're using, right? So I get that. I think that's fair. But it was a very good show, and definitely some of the jokes he definitely said I could see why he would not want that videotape. But the jokes were fun. He was funny and thoughtful, and he was very on his feet. Like he was cracking at the audience, and I was just hoping. I mean, I would have been down for whatever if the comedian would have came over here, but I was just like, oh my goodness, what if we were one of the people singled out? But he was just working his way through the front row. We was I think we was in the third row. We had some really good seats. But yeah, it was a packed show. It was in the Ovation Hall of Ocean. But good show. He had a good crowd. People came out to see him. And so that was great. We also did a drag show, Happy Hour Vibe, Mr. Johnson. It was his first drag show. He's never been to a drag show before. Now, I'm a little bit of a pro, so I got to come with the dollar. So before I even went to AC, I went to the bank and got a bunch of ones. I think I got like 50-something, I think $60 in ones, because you just never know how long these drag shows are going to be. But the cool thing is that I bring my ones, and we go and tip. Now, I have to teach him how this works because, it's his first drag show. I say, listen, I'm going to give you half a stack of ones. When they perform, you give them a 1. If you really like them a lot, give them 2. But you don't want to give all of your money immediately to one performer because there's going to be many more. And also, you need to the show elevates as it goes. So you give 1s, 2s, and someone's really, really great. You might want to give 3, but you gotta make sure you always tip the girls at least 1. But if they do a little bit better, a little bit more, but you gotta make sure you assess. He in the beginning was just kind of giving out these ones. I was like, listen. That performance was at best a $1. That performance, but the other performance should get more. So we got the group. By the time we got to Act 2, of the drag show after the intermission part. Then he was like, wow, yeah, that is definitely worth more. And so he was doing it like that. So we got better. But but no, we had a good time. We saved some ones because it wasn't, this was a more very, very tight-knit drag show performance. So it wasn't, I've gone to some that would last for like 2 hours. This was pretty much like a good hour. So it wasn't too many ones that need to be given. But you listen, when you at a casino, when you at somewhere like that, it never hurts to have more ones than less. Because I've been sometimes where I've run out ones. I'm like, oh my god, now I gotta come in. I gotta find who gonna get this $20. Y'all gotta do black backflips and hammer and somersaults or something, So it was different. But this show went well. The drinks were great. That was fun. It was at a place called Lola's Bar and Lounge, which is also in Ocean. And it was a cute spot. It was very, very queer and very, very colorful. What else did we do? We did brunch. Oh, we went to Exhale Spa. And that was fun. Exhale I got a deep tissue massage. And I'm always scared of deep tissue massage because I'm always thinking they're going to do too much. But listen, whoever was there, the lady who was there, she gave me a brand new back in a good way. She gave me a brand new back, yes. And then we was in a sea salt grotto, which was like a Himalayan sea salt room that we was in for like 20 minutes, and it helps you with your, I guess, respiratory system, or that's what they claim. It was cute. And then there was jacuzzi in the pool, and that took the cake for me. So we did not go to the beach. At all. We saw the beach. We saw a view of the beach, but we did not go to the beach. This is the second time in Atlantic City I've went and I have not gone to the beach. I'm not a beach person. I think I've said this before, but I'm not a beach person. I like the beach. I like the feel. I like the look of it all. But just getting in the sand, and I'm also I've been to beaches in other countries, and so I'm kind of like, if it's not giving me like, Tel Aviv, or, when I went there, or Ghana, when I went to Ghana and to the slave castles and we was on that beach, that was a different experience. Or Peru. Oh my God, when I was in Trujillo, like, that beach out there. Like, if it's not giving me that, I'm just like, look, I like to look at it, and I just want to be in the pool. So I got in the pool, because I didn't get in the pool during the PABJ pool party when we had at the W. I didn't get into the pool then because, as the PABJ president, there was always a rule. Presidents don't get in the pool when they're president. So I've been in a pool at the PABJ pool party, but folks are like, why are you in the pool? Because I have to kind of be like the unofficial lifeguard, so make sure other people can have a good time and not drown. But had a good time. We had a fabulous time. The food was great. We went to Harper's for brunch, which we always go to. Comedy show, drag show, the spa, 2 great restaurants. Yeah, we did it all. It was an incredible weekend of relaxation. Definitely a weekend I needed because it's interesting. Every time I have a massage scheduled or I have a trip or something to get away, it always comes at the right time. Life is fun. Like, I needed to get out of Philadelphia for a couple of days because I was just like, the city was just doing too much. Philly was just doing too much. I heard that while I was gone, Angelina Jolie was near the neighborhood. So apparently she was at Forest Theater to go see a show. But she was in Philly. Angelina Jolie. Yes, Angelina Jolie, who recently revealed, or reports revealed, that Brad Pitt was allegedly abusive when they were together. That Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie, whose daughter is now going to a HBCU, Spelman. That Angelina Jolie. Oscar winner Angelina Jolie. Like, Maleficent Angelina Jolie. Cruel Intentions. Like, not Cruel Intentions. Girl Interrupted Angelina Jolie. That's where she won an Oscar for. Lara Croft Tomb Raider Angelina Jolie. Like, she was here in Philly. And people caught a glimpse of her, but they heard her ass right into that theater, apparently. But she was in Philly. Wasn't trying to make any appearances just yet. Listen, I would have been out. Listen, that would have made me. Listen, there are a few Hollywood in my generation. We don't really have any movie stars. There's just like no real movie stars anymore. I think Jamarcus and I talk about this all the time. Like, there's like never really any real Hollywood movie stars anymore. Rarely. Like, Keke Palmer is probably like the last of this new generation. I mean, I remember the days when Kate Winslet and Kate Blanchett, all the Kates, right, used to go on these red carpets, and they used to just be lots of news about their breakups and divorces. The Reese Witherspoon era, which was with Ryan Philippe. Who else was in it? I mean, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, when they were together, for real, Ben Affleck and J-Lo. Not this new version of them. I'm talking about, you remember, those were real Hollywood movie stars. Like, you would stop, drop, and roll. Like Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington. Real Hollywood, okay? Those were real movie stars. Tom Cruise, like, those are real movie stars. Like, that's like, there was a different era. The new quote-unquote movie stars of today, I just find them so, like, I'm like, they're not all of them are bad, but they're just kind of like, okay, all right, you're in a film, big deal. Which I get, I mean, but I remember there used to be like a thing where you just stop everything. Like, we don't have a Harrison Ford anymore. I mean, The Rock, right? The Rock is a movie star. Like, I mean, that's movie star for me, right? But it's not too many of them, of this era, And I think because of social media and internet, and because these people are overexposed in a way that we can see everything they do every 5 seconds, we don't care about them as much, which arguably makes sense. But I don't like the way that we have made, quote unquote, they're not even, I wouldn't even say movie stars anymore, but like just the influencer as celebrities of influencers, or celebrities that call themselves celebrities, but they're really influencers. They're more of an influencer than a celebrity, and all influencers are not celebrities. And I guess all celebrities are influencers, maybe, who knows? But it's just like this newer crop of people out now. It's just not giving the same way. I just remember when I was younger, it meant something. Like when you saw those people on TV, like when Johnny Depp was not fucking around and fucking up. Well, he's always been fucking up. But like, y'all know what I mean. When Pirates of the Caribbean came out, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, that was like Hollywood. You was like, oh, that's a movie star. You would be like, oh my God, it's them. So understand that when I say Angelina Jolie was in Philly, that made me stop, like, do I need to go back over there right now? Like, what is going on? But I'm not doing that for, like, I don't want to shade nobody. But, like, I don't know. Who am I not doing that for? I'm not doing it for, like, Jennifer Lawrence. I know she's got an Oscar. She's somebody. But I'm not doing that for, I'm not doing that for Jennifer Lawrence. Julia Roberts, I'm doing it. I'm there. I'm getting in the car. I'm going now. Like, but we just don't have that anymore. I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. I just feel like we don't have that level of star power anymore. So, I mean, Will Smith's a movie star, or was a movie star. But like, Will Smith is like a movie star to me. Like, that's a movie star. Like, Will Smith, I mean, when he was promoting his book in Philly, it was like a big damn deal. Even if you didn't read the book, even if you didn't care to read the book, everybody was talking about it. And everywhere he went, I mean, he packed the Met. So, yeah, we don't just, we just need more of those people. Like, where did those people go? But yes, Atlantic City was fabulous. Had a great time. And gave me some relief and relaxation, I would say, to moving is happening. It's coming along. Packing and moving. I'm out of here. September 1st, new place. We are out of here. 5 years. It's we're at that point where we're just throwing shit away. I was just telling one of my besties, Abel, about moving. He just moved too. He's in Brooklyn, child. He's in New York. Okay, that's I don't know what it means to move in New York. I don't. But I'm not gonna shade New York right now. But what I will say is I was very much like now I'm at the point where I'm just throwing shit away. Like throwing things away. I'm just like, I don't need it. Stop looking at it, Ernest. Put it in the fucking box. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just not even. I'm just throwing things away. I'm just realizing like I'm really need to let these things go, which is hard because you're just kind of in this weird phase where you don't want to let go of stuff you've had for years. I mean, like a blazer I've had that can no longer fit. I've outgrew it. It was like, I think when I came here, I brought it when I came here, which was 5 years ago. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm like, but it's not in style anymore. But I spent so much. But like, you spent that 5 years ago. Get over it. So I've had to really have these moments. You can imagine me like talking to myself as I decide on whether to throw something away or not, and having to tell myself it just needs to go away. It's over. You wasn't even thinking about it until you saw it. So I've had those moments. But things are coming along. We're just going through. The bedroom is. We kind of went through the bedroom and made decisions. The living room and the main closet in the living room is where we're at now. Bathroom is pretty much a wrap. Like, I mean, the only thing is coming with us is toiletries. But yeah, bathroom is pretty much over. Bedroom, closet, bedroom, that's pretty much out. Just the living room now. So we're making our way. Getting ready for the new place. Just super excited. Just can't wait. Just so much. So many things. Gracious and grateful. Well, I guess we'll go into some other topics that has come my way before we get into some of these, I guess, called the main event. Because I know, people message me like, are you talking? Yes, I'm going to talk about it. So, I just wanted to just start off by just telling you all how I'm doing. Because, people are checking in and checking on, and I'm just like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Looking forward to this week. Really relaxed for my vacation. And walking into a big week with big news and other stuff going on, as you all have seen over the past weekend, big stories and everything in between. So that's all going to be discussed now. So Trump is still on the prowl. People are like, is this a big deal? Listen, a lot of stuff is happening with Trump. Everyone's like, is a Trump indictment coming? Listen, it can. It's on the table. Is it guaranteed? I don't know. But I feel like it's in orbit. I think that this is the closest time I've ever felt like there could be an indictment. And like I've said before, if you've been following this podcast, been a loyal listener since the very beginning, I'm talking January 2021, when the insurrection dropped and the podcast dropped, I had laid down the foundation of telling you all that I feel like Letitia James and whatever Trump is going to do is going to get handled outside of Congress. Congress did not have the kahunas to go after him. Now, I don't know what the FBI is going to do. I don't know what the Department, the DOJ is going to do. I don't know what the Department of Justice is going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. But what I will tell you is that I feel like that AG in New York, Letitia James, I feel like that's going to be where it's at. And then I'm also looking at this Georgia situation with Rudy Giuliani. Now, Rudy, I feel like he might get an indictment. He might get indicted before Trump do. But there's some dominoes being stacked, and I'm seeing some things fall. And I'm looking very carefully. I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, Alan Weisselberg, who pleaded guilty on 15 counts of tax fraud. You got Trump somewhere pleading the fifth, and you got the Trump organization's former CFO, which is a chief financial officer, basically, turned himself in. It's a wrap. This man's going to spend some months behind bars. He's got to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in restitution. It's serious money being spent. There's some smoke and there's a fire. And that's all I can say right now. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And we're getting closer to the fire with this situation. I'm just like, get it done. Come on. You got the people. You got the people's attention, y'all. Come on, Letitia. I think Letty's going to get it done. Or let's, Merrick Garland or whatever, Merrick Garland, maybe he'll do it. I don't know. I always feel like the federal government have an issue with presidents. Like they just won't ever go after a president, past, current, former, whatever. They just won't go after a president. I just am kind of cynical there. But I feel like these state folks, yeah, let's keep an eye on Georgia, let's keep an eye on New York. To me, that's where the energy is going to come. But I might be proven wrong. And I hope I am. But I want to know with the T, what kind of deal did Alan Weisselberg come up with? What kind of deal he get? What kind of information he gave them? Because he didn't do it by himself. Stay woke. Stay woke. That's all I'm going to say on that. Stay woke. Now, to this GOP. So, last week, the primaries happened in Wyoming. And basically, Congresswoman Liz Cheney lost the primary in Wyoming. Yes, she did. She lost, y'all. She lost. And I hinted at this in my book, which I know you haven't read yet, but I hinted and talked about council culture in Liz. Let me tell you, the GOP will definitely sack their own. And that's what they did with Liz. Liz lost the primary to somebody who was not as qualified as her, but doesn't even fucking matter. Liz lost. Now, some people, I've seen a lot of media, okay, mainstream media, of course, that has been really making her this fucking martyr, talking about, how bold it is, and there's rumors that she might consider running for president on the GOP side. Child, please. And a lot of people have just been saying, oh my goodness, Liz had a moment of clarity, an awakening, a revolution, all this extra talk. And let me say this, she had her moments. However, okay, let's be very clear. A lesser evil got defeated by a bigger evil. Liz Cheney was not our friends, y'all. She was not. Liz did something good, but to be honest, it was never about the good of the people at large. It was for herself. She placed a bad bet. I think her bet was that if she could distance herself from Trump and provide herself to be the voice of reason for the GOP, which does not have any reason anymore, that somehow voters were going to rock by her because they've been rocking her for several years. Baby girl, it didn't happen. They all cuckoo. They're all cuckoo for Cocoa Pebbles. They're crazy. They're nuts. They're disrespectful. They have issues. That group was the party you defended. You choosing to have a backbone and cherry pick. But if you look at her stances on a voting rights bill, if you look at her stances on LGBTQ rights, I mean, she flip-flops on that. If you look at her stances on the women's right to choose, child, the stuff that she was saying, anti-abortion rhetoric, and how she was going on that tip, she thought she could have it both ways. They don't want a half-baked nutcase. The Republicans want all the way. If you're going to go all the way red, you got to be all the way red. You can't be semi-pink. This ain't a fucking steak. It ain't no well done, medium rare. They want rare all the way. They want bloody red Republicans that are dredged in white supremacy. No exception. They want extremists. And so she was trying to be a motherfucking medium well done. And that wasn't cutting with them. They did not want a medium well Republican. They want a extra rare. They want the rare breed. They want them bloody and bleedy. And that's what they want. They're savages. That's what they want. They want the meat. And she was trying to give them a hockey puck. A little too cooked. They said she's getting a little too blue. She's looking like a Democrat. Or let's be clear, a moderate Democrat. That's probably what Mitch McConnell was saying. She's not a Republican anymore. She's looking like a Democrat. Oh, that's, if you ever heard Mitch McConnell speak, Senator Mitch McConnell speak, that from Missouri, then that's what the energy he's giving. So they knew what she was doing. She was playing both sides. And playing both sides, see, she never played both sides with me because the policies weren't moving, okay? This is how you play for real. Be a Joe Manchin. Now, Joe Manchin, that motherfucker playing sides, okay? He giving everybody what they want. He's more Republican than Liz Cheney, I guess. Look, he was looking more Republican than Liz was, even though his voting record's kind of flip-floppy too. Flopping ass bitch. They both are. They were not consistent. But again, Republicans, what I will give them credit for is they don't play games with that shit. I don't think there's a such thing as a moderate Republican. Is there a moderate Republican anymore? I mean, what? Who's the one? Senator Mitt Romney plays around? He don't count. Mitt Romney don't know what he doing. But most of them, there's no moderate Republicans anymore with Susan Collins. Like, these people don't really exist anymore. It's basically extremists over there. They're not playing no half and half. Liz Cheney lost because Liz Cheney was always about prioritizing her own political access for herself. She thought that her party, because that's what white people think. They think that they can start shit and then change shit at the same damn time. And then they forget that You could do that with black people, fuck over us because you have this white privilege. But the interesting thing is it don't work with other white people. So Liz Cheney had to remember she was going against crazy white people. The party that her father helped build. Because you know she is the daughter of Dick Cheney, the former vice president to George W. Bush. It was Cheney. It was George W. Bush's legacy that created the roadmap to Trump. You don't get to Trump until you got to George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They literally were powerful people that started wars and did things based off of lies. Like, let's be clear, there was no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, right? They knew that, but they wanted to go to war. Like, they started a bunch of mass hysteria. They created and embedded and embodied Islamophobia post 9/11. They did all of that. They laid the foundation of it, but they did it in the name of democracy and patriarchy and all, patriotism, right? That was what they made it sound like. But honestly, it gave in and ushered in birtherism in this country. That's how you get a person like a Sarah Palin, that by the time John McCain was trying to quell that down, it took him over. He lost, but the anger of what they got mad at in a black man being president and elected president in 2008 created what would become this new party of the GOP. This revitalized. They were doing this shit for years. I mean, you can go back to Reagan, the lies they were doing. They were always lying. But modern day, right, we're talking about early 2000s, that started with Dick Cheney and Bush. They both manufactured lies and also created marginalization and phobia within the party in a different way. They made it okay to be outwardly, Islamophobic. They made all of these things okay. They said the silent parts out loud. They were okay with the mistreatment of black people in Katrina. Like, you gotta go, like, you look at how Bush out here playing, he got a master class. Now everybody want to talk about him painting pictures, but those motherfuckers caused all of that. Now, I was old enough to know that George W. Bush was his shit, and so was Dick Cheney. I was never an Ellen DeGeneres type thinking that we could just, find common ground and go to a baseball game and see each other. I was never that person. But I think what happens is that when you get someone like Trump, everybody starts doing the comparisons. We ain't doing comparisons. Those were evils upon evils upon evils. And now, that same very ignorance and evil that was brewed by her father, brewed by Bush, laid, the foundation to which would sack someone like her that was trying to be some smaller level of truth. Because they had already did it already. This party did not want to be checked. That's why Mitt Romney didn't win. You think that they wanted a Mormon to tell them what was morally right? No. This is an Anglo-Saxon Christian white Jew. Well, not Jewish because they don't even care. Listen, and I'll say this real quick. A lot of people sit around and talk about how this is, and I want to say this to folks, about when they talk about joining forces and creating alliances. If you look carefully at the racism that is happening right now and how it's being spewed by GOP, they are also spewing anti-Semitism at a high rate as well. I mean, if you look at Marjorie, if you look at some of those Southern conservatives and the rhetoric they're using, how they describe the mask mandates, how they've been using these references about the Holocaust and even the Hitler references made by Trump, allegedly, these people are also anti-Semitic. And so when I hear certain people in the Jewish community that I know try to act like there's room for Republicans, I'm sorry, but do you see the rhetoric that they've been using against the Jewish community? Have you not seen it, the Islamophobia? Muslims, I don't know any Muslims supporting Trump. But if you see all of the anti-Semitism, this is bigger than just racism. Like, yes, white supremacy. But white supremacy has always been bigger than race, too. White supremacy was people also, putting up swastikas. This is connected. And so sometimes I feel like I hear some people in the community, not in the black community, but when I look at interfaith communities and circles, I have some folks that I know in Jewish spaces that are still acting like conservatives are somehow, they're tougher on foreign policy and this, that, and the third. Yeah, but I'm sorry, but they're talking out the side of their neck. Because if you think for that they're going to be supporting the Jewish community at large while also continue to tolerate the Islamophobia and the anti-Semitism and keeping that division happening. It's no way. It's no way. There's no way. There's no way that those two things can exist. You cannot support extremist conservatives across this country and think that that's going to just disproportionately benefit the Jewish community over everyone else. It isn't. It isn't. I mean, how many times has Marjorie had to apologize for making remarks about, making Holocaust references, being affiliated with known neo-Nazis? I mean, the affiliations are there. I don't know why any Jewish person in America right now would be pushing and supporting Republicans. Now, there are certain organizations that will convince folks that it would be in the best interest, but survey says otherwise. That's all I'm saying. Look very carefully at the candidates. Look who they're affiliated with. It's not just a black issue. Black issue is part of it, but they also have a Jewish issue. They also have a lot of other issues with other faiths and communities. They don't like any of us. They only like themselves. And you are not one of them. If you think you can assimilate, try, but look very carefully. They are very intentional about who they are for. And it's very close to who they identify as. And those are very much so Christian extremists, religious fundamentalists that are Christian, that are white, that are Anglo-Saxon, that carry those types of views and extremity of those views that are rooted in a patriarchal system. They do not want anyone else. They can act like they do, but they don't. I mean, look how Jared Kushner's relationship is with Trump right now. Just look at how those dynamics are playing, and just look at how that plays out. That's all I'm going to say. It's very telling to me that there are people who, in different communities, okay, will always center whiteness and think that whiteness will protect them, even if those amongst that whiteness carry hateful views. Listen, every community do it. We all think that somehow we're going to be special or we're going to get favor. It don't work that way. A hater, someone who's a hater, a supremacist, a bigot, that hate is deep, and it does not have a check on and check off button. It kind of has it for everybody that's not them. So unless you are literally them, they're not going to cut you any space. History has already taught us that. Let's go back to reading again, people. All right. So, yeah, Trump is going through it. Liz is being sacked. Now on to Crudités. Okay. Dr. Oz, I don't know what Dr. Oz is doing at this point. He's running for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. People know he doesn't live in Pennsylvania. This man lied about he said he had 2 homes. He got 10, and they're all across the world, across the country, across New York. He got condos and shit. He got shit everywhere, okay? I'm still not convinced he's in Pennsylvania, but I think that's already out on the table already. But in the most cringiest thing ever, there was a video that was found. That was by Dr. Oz, actually, where he went to a grocery store. He was at Wegner's. Which it's interesting because that's what I think that's how, Weggers he called it. But he was at Wegner's. I think he said Wegner's. It's Wegmans, to be clear. But let me be very clear. He was at Wegmans, which is a supermarket. And he was there at the grocery store, and he was walking around oddly at Wegmans. And it got some produce and was talking about the cost of the produce. But it was very odd because he was picking them up by the piece, not by the bushel, broccoli. It was just a lot of things. But he was picking them up doing price comparisons. And then he was getting guacamole, which wasn't even homemade. It was just some at the store, and was comparing the prices and saying, how his wife wanted to get a crudité and like it's expensive to get one. I'm just like, sir, what are you doing? When I tell you it was the most cringiest, unrelatable thing. I mean, first of all, Dr. Oz has been out of touch since the beginning of his life, right? This is a man who is on videos back in the day talking about how to avoid eating snacks.
he gets nuts and he soaks them in water. I've never seen this before, but he soaks almonds in water, and he'll just, every time he wants to go to the fridge to avoid overeating or over snacking, he just eats one of those almonds out of the water, and he says it has this like meaty, nutty. I don't know how he described it, but it was weird. But I was like, see, this is what I mean by the caucasity of it all. I don't know anything about almonds soaking in water and eating them like a snack. I just think that's the most. What are you talking? What is going on? These are the things where I don't know what to say. But the crudité thing. Now, for those who don't know what crudité is, it's basically an assortment of vegetables, like a party tray. Like regular people say party tray. We don't say crudité. It's a party tray. Okay? We barely say charcuterie, right? We say charcuterie more than anything else. But crudité, I was like, what are you doing? So, first of all, most Pennsylvanians do not actually, that I know of, buy vegetables individually like that to make one. They will actually just buy a party tray with them already. And no one is like, either they buy a party tray that has the vegetables, or they buy enough vegetables to make it at home. But just the way he was getting the vegetables and picking them up, it felt like he was picking up it felt more like he was he was not at a farmer's market, he was at a supermarket. But you can tell that he doesn't shop at supermarkets by the way that he was picking up the broccoli. Like, no one buys what are you doing? You just bought one, it was just off. Long story short, Fetterman's camp got on it. They ran a big old joke about how out of touch he was. They even created a Wegner's page on Twitter that has over 19,000 followers, I think I last checked. And it just goes to show you how out of touch Dr. Oz has been. And the crazy part is Dr. Oz has been trying to clap back and try to punch jabs at Fetterman, which doesn't work. Fetterman is back on the campaign trail now. He's going to rallies, big old crowds coming to see him. I really think he's going to pull it off, y'all. I think the momentum is going for him in his favor. But, again, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. But I really think Fetterman has it in the bag. If he continues at this momentum and Oz keeps taking unnecessary L's, it's just looking bad. I mean, to a certain extent, there's a Republican PAC that I guess was funding money for a bunch of major stations, and they're pulling money out. They're pulling money out of Philly. They're pulling money out of Wisconsin, which is where Mandela Barnes is at. They're pulling money out of a lot of some of these key races, and that's signaling that they may not feel like it's worth it, because they feel like he's pretty much, they look at the polls and they might be feeling like, you know what, Dr. Oz is not worth the money to spend here. We should put money in other seats that might be threatened, right? So there's a lot of energy in Florida with Marco Rubio and Val Demings. Now, Val Demings, she's not my personal ideal candidate, but she's won her primary. She's going against Marco Rubio, and another Democrat in the Senate is better than the one without. So there's a lot of opportunity. I don't know how close. I mean, it's looking like she's got a chance, but Florida is still Florida, so I don't trust it. But we'll see what happens in that race. But it would be interesting to see if there's if she pulls it out, become next senator. I mean, the goal is to just get a stronger majority that will put Joe Manchin in his place, because I just want to see Joe Manchin's power melt. He rode on the ability to be the one person that needed to swing, because everybody else was doing what they were supposed to do. But Joe Manchin has been a Thor in Joe Biden's side. And honestly, it's time for him to get humbled. He's just been sitting there. And he's playing the game because right now he knows where everyone's at. But rest assured, we voters have to go to the polls and get this shit straightened out. Because if we can get us a senator in PA, get us one in Wisconsin, possibly get one in Florida, we're in a situation where Joe Manchin's little naysayer vote will not matter, and no one will care what he has to say. He'll stop getting all this stupid media attention, and honestly, he'll just sit there, and then you know what? In the next couple of years, they'll run somebody for his seat, and then he'll be ousted, and then we can keep this fucking show going. But it's annoying, because you would think after all the work that we did to get to this point in 2020, that now we're held up by one person, and really two, because Kristen Sinema can go too. We need to get we got to get enough people to push to push their sway over. Because, I mean, granted, we got the environmental bill, but, like, that wasn't the way, that Green New Deal wasn't even a Green New Deal. But, it made some progress, but, like, come on, y'all. Anywho, I can't. But if I was Dr. Oz, I would just be trying to figure out what my next gig gonna be. Maybe a documentary, maybe something else. I don't see it for him. So, an update to last week's story on the UC townhomes. So, there are a lot of you who asked me about it and what to do and everything about how to support. I mean, it's just the countdown to September 7th. We got to see what's going to happen. There's a lot of work happening. There's townhomes. They're doing supporter meetings. There's a lot of stuff going on. I would say follow the Instagram page, Save UC Townhomes. Save UC Townhomes. That is the Instagram page. That's their Instagram account. They have a Venmo that you can give money to support the tenants there that are dealing with displacement issues. That is the official page of the Coalition of Residents and Allies fighting to save the people's townhomes. So there's a fight. They're really doing everything they can to really help. Their page is filled with lots of relevant, accurate information about the work they're doing, how to be involved. And it's in my backyard, and I wrote about it, but there's just so much more that needs to be done. But for people that need to understand this and how serious this is, the UC townhomes are one of 37 for-profit low-income housing properties in Philly that's expiring in the next 5 years. So let me be very clear. These townhomes, right, that I talked about in the last episode, I was talking about University City townhomes. This is only the few, right? There are a lot of for-profit low-income housing properties like this that's across Philadelphia that are expiring. 37 to be exact in the next 5 years. So we're talking about a lot of displacement, okay? And District 1, which is Mark Squilla's district, okay? There are 4 expiring properties that are going to be happening very soon. Dynasty Court, there's a Washington Square West. You need to hit up Mark Squilla and ask him what he's going to do about those 4 properties in his district. There are 6 in Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson's district. 6, y'all. This includes King's Village, Jackie's Garden, Gray's Ferry Parcel. There's 6 of them. Y'all have to ask him what is he doing about these properties, okay? And there are 16 in West Philadelphia in the district, 3rd Councilmanic District. This is Jamie Gauthier. Y'all definitely did hear of 16, okay? Nearly half of the 37 are in Jamie Gauthier's district, okay? A lot of them in West Philadelphia. We got University City Townhomes, of course. You got Cobb Creek. You got the Breslin Apartments. You got Center Post Village. You got Westminster Affordable Housing. You got Neighborhood Restoration V. Neighborhood Restoration V again. This is all in Ludlow and Walnut. You got Jameson Court. You got Sarah Allen. You got Clover Affordable Housing. You got Girard Affordable Housing. You got Belmont Affordable Housing. There's a lot of affordable housing units, 16 and counting, all in West Philadelphia. You need to hit up Jamie Gauthier and ask him what's up with those properties. Now in District 4, that's also part of West Philly, Councilmember Curtis Jones, y'all got to hit him up. He got 2. Monte Vista Apartments and the Haddington Townhouses. Those are up in the next couple of years. 3 are in Darrell Clark's district in North Philly. Dorado Village. Model Cities, number 6. The Sarton School Apartments. Again, hit up Darrell Clark. 3 is in Maria Quinella Sanchez's district. Kensington Townhouses. Okay? Folk Rod Apartments. Villas Dig Hard. 3. And most of these housing units, let me just say, are happening with populations that are majority black and brown for sure. Right? Even in Cindy Bass's district. Okay, this is District 8. 2 expiring properties coming soon. Edgewood Manor Apartments, the Tioga Affordable Housing. Hit her up. Hit up Cindy Bass. And there's 1 in Sherelle Parker's district. 1, Somerville Homes. Somerville Homes is a long-known affordable housing unit over there in the Northwest. It is up for expiration. Hit up Sherelle Parker. All the information is on that Instagram page. Check out their website. Check out their Venmo. Check out all that stuff. They are giving people a script to simply say, hi, my name is so-and-so, so-and-so, and I live in your district. I'm calling to demand that you use your power to help save the UT townhomes, as well as the other 36 aspiring district properties in Philly. The properties in your district are, and then you can name the ones that are in those people's district. do your part to preserve affordable housing in our city. You could also add more if you want to say more, but that's the script that they're giving people. And this is embarrassing. But affordable housing is a serious issue. We talk about homelessness, we talk about food insecurity, we talk about poverty. Like, this is an issue happening in our backyards. Like, here in Philadelphia. And across the country, there's probably aspirations of a lot of affordable housing units outside of Philly. And a lot of you all know about it, right? This is not okay. This is not okay. Make them use that rainy day fund to save these homes. These should be permanent fixtures. So I hope people are really taking it seriously. Now, to something serious, but not really serious. Boys and girls, the moment you all have been waiting for. I'm thinking about Beyonce when she did I Am tour, and she started off by, doing that long intro before she got to Single Ladies, which is a great performance. And I love the live performance and the live audio soundtrack to I Am World Tour, where she does Single Ladies and she opens up like that, is great. So I was thinking of that when I was saying this. So let's get into it. Dîner and Blanc. This is probably the last time I'm going to ever give any long, extensive, personal attributes or discuss Dîner and Blanc. Unless, I was paid to talk about it again. Because I get paid to give my opinions. I think you all forgot about that. But let's get into this. Because there's so many thoughts. And this week was very eye-opening. And just a lot going on. So, where do I start? Let's just start with the introduction. So Dîner and Blanc has been around for 10 years in Philadelphia. 10 years in Philadelphia. It is not an American concept. It is not a Philadelphia concept. It's not original. This is an international chain that's in dozens of countries all over the world, in cities across America. It's just basically a concept that is very French-centric, but yet has been translated and replicated across the world. There's people in, I think, Jamaica, the Caribbean. People in Asia, I believe. People in Europe, of course. People in Canada, I believe. People all across the world do this event. Philadelphia in the United States and North America, Philadelphia is one of the cities, but there's cities all across the U.S. There's a bunch of cities in the U.S. that are doing it. It's a big money grab because what they do is they create this system where it's really a glorified tiered party system. It's predicated on being exclusive. It's predicated on being this VIP, top of the top, list of the list. So basically how it starts is that there is a party. It's one big old party. And what happens is there's tiers and levels and it's all this, right? People get invited. There were people who were invited at the very beginning and they got to invite other people. And then those people got to invite other people and they became leaders, table leaders. And they would coordinate the participation of others at the said tables, right? And so before I want to talk about this and I'll get into the aesthetic part of it. So they invite, it's giving off pyramid. I know. Bear with me. You, somehow from the sky, when the first coordinators 10 years ago got together, they picked a certain crop of people. I would imagine these people had some type of elite status or prominence or something of the nature. And those people got to invite other people they thought would benefit from an experience like this or like it. So those people got invited. And all of the people involved spent money. They paid money to hold their seat to participate. I think it's a little over $100, maybe less, I don't know. But they spend money. They have to pay into this. Everybody has to pay. Money has got to be made. So you put money into it. You pay to reserve your seat. We'll get to the other aspects. And so once you get your seats, you go that year, and then the next year, you get to now not be a guest. You get to invite someone else, so you get to extend a favor or invite. And then that person gets to do the same thing. And then you begin to formulate these tables, these aesthetics. And there's table leaders and groups, and they get to assemble more guests and more guests, and it expands. And then that's how you get something with thousands of people. But it starts and it builds and it builds and it builds. And they do this to make sure they guarantee a certain set number. So it's the party everyone wants to get into. Everyone wants to get invited to it. Everybody wants to get a taste to be a part of this very, invite only, exquisite affair. Now, the affair itself. So, you, as the person who paid money to hold the seat, right? You paid to reserve your seat, to buy your ticket to this exclusive affair. You have to bring your own table. You have to bring your own food. You have to bring all white, and everything that you bring except the food needs to be in all white. It's an all white party. Let me clarify, all white attire party. It's diversity of people. We'll get to that. But the attire is all white. The tables are white. The linen cloths are white. Everything has to be white. And it's a strict code. You cannot try to be original and then you come up there in pink and be special. No. You got to wear all white. Everyone has to wear all white. The tables got to be all white. You got to bring all your stuff. So yes, you're paying money to bring your own table, your own food, your own shit, and be told a dress code in all white. Yes, bear with me. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just saying that's the rules. That's the rules. I didn't make them. So then the day of the event, you are told to go to one holding locations, and then basically they don't want to tell you the location because it's a surprise venue. So there's no control over the venue. Everybody has to coordinate, and there's routes, and they put people at certain stations, and you have to park and be at the location at the exact time, and everybody's carrying their stuff, and then they're told the moment of, like, when the event is, and everyone is expected to do walking distance, set up their tables, set up their chairs, and basically you have to do all this. Now, it could be hot as hell, it could be rainy, it doesn't matter if it rains or snow or whatever. Well, it's not going to snow, but they don't care how hot it is, they don't care how wet it could potentially be. The event will go on, rain or shine, for the most part. So they lock in their date, and it's you could get wet. This time around, they didn't get wet, but in the past, it has rained, and it's become a mess. Sometimes it gets super, super hot. It is what it is. So they lug out all their stuff. They come with the tables. They come with the food. They all organize themselves and prepare themselves to make sure they set up this party and do this thing. They do it. They get there. The food's there. They have their tables. They all feel fancy. They're with a bunch of strangers. They feel good because look at all of us and all our white. Look at this. This is great. All these people. Yay. People. Yay. So they're happy to be amongst each other, and they, love the magic of just seeing all these people convincingly put on this party and fun. So they light up thingies, sparklers. They play Vida La Vida from Coldplay, and they all light up in the air. But before then, they have to have a weird towel toss where everybody, before it's time to eat, everyone gets their towels and spin it in the air like they're in France. It just doesn't work. I'm trying to just tell it without commentary again. Hold on. Okay. So they wave those towels in the air, and then they eat. And then after they eat, at the end, they light like a sparklers, and it's great photos. I'll give it that. And, they have this magical night. There's live music, and people are dancing and, frolicking and taking lots of pictures because heaven forbids there were no cameras around to tape this. Everything is for the pictures. Everything is really for the picture and spectacle. But they all take their pictures, and they all arguably convince themselves that the experience was fun, and they'll do it again for another year, and another year, and another year. And so they've been doing this for 10 years. This has gone on for 10 years in Philadelphia. Now, how do I know about this, and how can I talk about it? Many years ago, I went to Dîner Blanc. I did not go as a guest. I went as media because I want to set the record straight. Because a lot of people have been out here talking, and I swear that Google could be your friend. I swear that if I'm going to talk about something publicly or talk about the experience, I don't have to hide anything about it. I don't know why people just don't read. I don't know why people just don't Google. Shit is just so simple if you actually did use the tools at your disposal. As a world that has so much information accessible, we use less of it. Isn't that weird? Like, we're in a world where we have more access to information than previous generations, and yet we use less of it to form opinions and educated opinions. So it tells me that it was never the lack of information, it was just the people that were expected to assess the information. But I could go on for days on how media literacy is a problem in this country. But we're going to get there. So I've been to Dîner in Blanc twice. I went in 2017 when they had it on the Art Museum steps. And then I went in 2018 when they had it at Franklin Square. Those were the 2 years I went. So it was a while ago. 4 years ago was the last time I went. 4 years ago. So much has changed in the world. So I went as media. I didn't like it. When I went, it was, let me say this, as media. So as media, going to the event, right, you have to wear all white. But what's special, what's a little bit more convenient is that you don't have to bring your own table. You don't got to bring the food. You don't got to do all that shit. You just show up. The food, they have it catered. They have a special area for media. So, they got their own little area. Back then they did. I don't know what they do now. But back then, we had our own area. We just showed up in all white. And, we just engaged with people at the tables. And we saw people we knew and yada, yada, yada. So I went as media. And, that aspect of it was a lot manageable. I've never went as a guest. And I don't ever plan to go as a guest with anyone. Please do not invite me to this shit. Which I don't think anyone will actually at this point, which is good. But I didn't do it like that. I just went as Mia. And from my experience, I did not like it. The first time I went, I just kind of did not understand what was going on. So I was like, maybe, and it rained. So it did rain that night. So I kind of didn't have a real assessment. Before it rained, I just thought it was corny, if that makes sense. But then I was like, well, maybe it's because I'm kind of just new to this whole vibe. Because I was very young. I was young. I started at Philly Mag in 2016. So I had a year at Philly Mag at that point. And so stuff like that, at this point, I've been to enough. I've been to a lot of parties and events where I know what's highbrow, what's lowbrow, what's in between, what's the real McCoy, what's the fake McCoy. So this is definitely the fake McCoy to me of these experiences. But anywho, I didn't want to prejudge it the first time I went. I found it off-putting slightly, but then I was also like, maybe it rained, maybe it was just a lot going on that day. Let me go next year. Let me see, maybe it's just the Rocky Steps. And so that's the thing too. We were at the Rocky Steps, so I was going up and down. It was exhausting, y'all. It was just a lot. So I just felt like, not my cup of tea. But then when someone told me they changed the locations, I was like, maybe it's the change in scenery. So when I went to the Franklin Square event, this point, I was more mentally prepared, for the situation. I was like, okay. So last time I wore white shorts, and they looked at me funny for wearing white shorts. This time I had the white pants and the white shirt. This time I was a little bit more mentally prepared for it. I was like, okay, let me see something here. So then I finally went, and now let's be clear. This Franklin Square as a setup was a lot better than the Rocky Steps. However, I just found it boring. It was okay, a couple of, after 30 minutes of seeing people in all white and seeing the tables and, walking around, it's kind of okay, that's it. It just was an all-white party. But it was an all-white party that just wasn't fun. And black folks love a good all-white party. Because there's some black people that go to Dîner in Blanc. Listen, let me be clear. Black folks love them some, there are some black folks that love them some Dîner in Blanc. They love it like they love Martha's Vineyard. They love it there's a subset of black folks, and I talk about this on my podcast, that love all white parties and going on yachts and doing their thing. It gives that. But this is just, I don't know. I just felt like we're here and we're just here to eat. I don't know. I just didn't get it. I just felt like it was too many people. But the other issue for me, through time, because at that point I wrote about it the next year in 2019. I wrote a piece for Philly Mag talking about how I thought it was very elitist, or mocking elitism, to be honest. But at the time, I just thought it was a display of elitism that we didn't need. And that was in 2019. Yes, y'all, I've been said how I felt about Dîner in Blanc. And I said I went twice and tried to like it. No one, there's a lot of people that's what y'all get to. But oh, you went twice. You didn't say that. I'm like, yeah, bro, I said that for the same publication 3 years ago. What are we doing here? But again, common sense is not always common. So I said, okay, I wrote a piece the next year in 2019. I was someone, was like, hey, you're going to go. That was the year it was a Navy Yard. I never went to the Navy Yard event. I never did. I refused to go, didn't want to go, had no interest, did not go. And I wrote a piece in 2019 that year about how I felt about Dîner and Blanc and how I went twice and how I was trying to, give it a feel. I wrote that in 2019. Put it out there. It was talk of the town. I remember all the folks that was the disciples of Dîner and Blanc that were just like, how can you say this? And, oh, you're a hater. This is negative. Oh my God, can y'all say better insults? Can y'all just think critically? It's critical thinking missing, but we'll get on with it. So that I was hurt that in 2019. Now fast forward to 2022. It's the 10th anniversary. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, so much has happened since the last time I went to Dîner and Blanc in 2018, and what about 2019, to where we are in 2022. 2022, y'all, we've 2 years out of this pandemic. We've had conversations about equity. We're having conversations about supporting local business. We're having these conversations that are more nuanced. And I just kind of feel like, how does Dîner and Blanc, as this big event that takes up so much of our resources and attention and all of this, how does that fit in this conversation we're having about these issues on a larger scale? Now, some people will say other people do events, but I want to be clear. This is a public event. It's a public event that's displaying a false sense of elitism, because let's be clear, a lot of people in that crowd are not elite. They're not. Like, elite as in, they're not. Like, and that's no shade. I mean, do you want to be an elite? I mean, let me know. But I would argue that most of the people that are there are not really elite. They're just not. But for that night, it's an opportunity to revel in what that elitism looks like or what it feels like. And it's just cosplay. It's like putting on the costume. Like, you know how people do Roaring 20 parties, which gets annoying sometimes. Everybody wants a great Gatsby themed party. Like, it gives that. It gives a bunch of people wanting to have a Gatsby themed party that they want everybody in the city to look at if you're not there. It's gross. And so, like, let's be clear. Wealth and access and capitalism, all these things are gross, right? By 100%. But what I will say is that I think there's something about the need to publicly, like, project the appearance of elitism in public. Like, the need to do it outwardly in a way. Like, it's one thing to go out to a restaurant and go out and eat outside. If you want to go outside at park and eat your shrimp and get your life, fine. It's public space, whatever. But there's something to be said about the need to want to perform this in a public setting. And knowing what we know about the disparities, I'm not talking about just simply that there's food insecurity and a bunch of people are going to waste a lot of fucking food in a bunch of food insecure people's face. Like, you're having this in a public space like Logan Square this year was, and you're basically like wasting food, and there's a lot of people out there in that area that use public space for shelter. Like, do we not know anything about housing insecurity? It's okay, a lot of people clearly don't, which is why some of the questions I was asked were just interesting. But if you ever have actually covered it and actually have navigated through it, you'll know that Logan Square and these like high populated areas, the Rocky Steps, Franklin Square, these areas where Franklin Fountain, all these areas in the evening times are occupied by a lot of homeless people. Like, it's just what it is. Philadelphia has a homelessness problem that everybody just act like they know about, but then don't. But most people who are housing insecure like to frequent places where there's a lot of public engagement, but there's also areas where they can blend in, but also feel a sense of security, because those are also areas that are oftentimes surveilled, right? And so there's a give and take in that, because sometimes police interactions with the homeless are not always ideal or great, but there's also the element of it can't be somewhere hideaway where safety can't be provided or aid. I don't know. But there's a lot of different ways that you can look at public spacing and housing insecurity and how it collides. So, in my mind, right, I'm thinking of these areas, right, that are traditionally occupied by the public moving in and out. But you're taking an entire space and you're throwing an event where you're flashing exuberance or the look of exuberance. Because let's be clear, it's like, are they the look of it? Look, I know people that was at that party that owe some people I know some money. So it wasn't given wealthy. But the tease of it, though. And having that in this way. And while there are people, certain people that want to tell us that there is charity components to it, it ain't real charity components to it, okay? Like, sure, there might be some people who might want to give a portion or something, but to be honest, the event is largely not a charity event, okay? All this, there is charitable aspects, please, fuck out of here. We're not stupid. Like, when I mean charity events, I'm talking about when we go to galas and they make it a point that thousands upon thousands of dollars are going. Like, they're using the human capital in those events that are much smaller, mind you, but raise more money. You got thousands of people out there, okay? And it's not a local company. Now, like I said, there's Made in America, there's other people, there's concerts, but that's a concert, and there's something there that's different, right? And it's accessible. There's no gatekeeping-esque vibe on how you can enter, how you cannot. Tickets are sold to everybody. It's a public event for the party community at large. This is a big-ass public event, but private party being thrown in the middle of the damn city with thousands of people. And with all that brain, all that human capital, none of it is largely going to support a bigger cause in a city that could use something like that to help. Just fucking saying. Like, I just think, to me, what a fucking missed opportunity and what a fucking waste. And everyone's like, oh, well, this is the way people can find joy. Is it, though? Are there not other ways? Don't we do this at the Welcome America concert? Don't we have other ways that we can create recreation and joy that doesn't have to be this fucking elite and fake elite to be there and to be this excessive and this snobby? Like, is there other ways to do this? Is this the only way we can find ourselves having fun and joy? Is this the only way? Is this the best way? I mean, that's the real question. Like, no one can't say these things can't exist. I mean, they fucking do. But, like, can we have a conversation about why is this the best way we can do this? Is this the best way that we can create this community, this level of joy amongst ourselves? Must we all wear all white? Who made the dress code? I'm just saying, is this the only best way we can do? And should this be acceptable? That's the point. That's the point I was arguing my piece, is that we're in a city that will not let black people have black block parties in their neighborhoods. And I'm saying black and brown neighborhoods because those are the ones where police have been telling those community members that they can't have a block party because we don't know about gun violence. So they're literally telling folks they can't even have block parties in their communities. But you are talking about the threat of gun violence, right? But wasn't there that big old shooting on the Parkway that got everybody all scared? Well, look, they're close to the Parkway in Logan Square, all these big, huge events. Wasn't there a situation on South Street? But you don't see them stopping anything on South Street. You don't see them stopping shit over there in Logan Square. Like, I'm just saying the hypocrisy for me is hearing stories after stories of black neighborhoods and communities not have joy in their own backyards. But I'm seeing a bunch of these other folks go to Center City and get to run wild. It's just the double standards for me. If the gun violence issue is a real epidemic in the city, then treat it like a real epidemic in the city. But that's why I'm trying to tell you all that there's hypocrisy there and bullshit, because everybody will sit up all day and act like this gun violence crisis is just such a citywide crisis. But the same people that's out here saying it are the same people that are going to Center City willy-nilly doing what the fuck they want to do without no care and concern. But yet they'll try to act like they're the most worried. Like, you'll hear all these, I'm going to say it, you hear all these Karens and folks on social media talking about this is a lawless city. There's so much lawlessness. We need to get rid of Krasner. So much lawlessness in these communities. It's terrible. Philadelphia is going to the slums. This is a horrible experience. I don't feel safe in my city. I live in Center City and I don't feel safe. But you felt fucking safe when you took your ass to Logan Square for 3 hours on a Thursday evening. You felt safe then. You don't hear them over there telling people they can't throw nothing down in Center City, but let them put something out there, right? You don't hear them telling people in South Street they can't do anything, though, right? But you let it be in North Philly, let it be in West Philly, though, and everybody's being told you can't do this, you can't do that. I done seen community festivals and gatherings in my backyard get canceled or being told not to because of gun violence. And last time I saw, officers were down at Parkway, and I don't hear nothing about closing anything down. Oval's still doing his thing. Man, America's coming over there. Dîner and Blanc just happened nearby. Like, y'all are fucking hypocrites. And was I not supposed to say something? Was I supposed to just shut up and let it happen? No. Fuck no. Because I'm a journalist. Because I'm a columnist. Because I get to give my opinion. Because that's what my job is. I get to give an opinion for a living. I know it's hard for you all to process, some of you, that a black queer millennial in Philadelphia gets paid to give an opinion. That they can speak truth to power. That they can give their perspectives on issues. And whether or not everyone agrees or don't fucking agree, it doesn't fucking matter. I get to do it. Like all of my mostly white peers in this industry do. But let me tell you what it is for me. The flip-floppity-flop ass bitches, right? Let me talk about the flip-floppity asses, right? That, one day I'm overrated, next day on my, you know where it goes. It's interesting because what's funny is that you're in a city, in an environment where everyone says, oh, we want free speech and, all Black lives matter and voices matter and things matter and blah, 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 blah. Right? But the moment I speak on something, whether they agree or not, the girls want to go crazy. They want to make Facebook posts and make subliminal shots and throw subliminal shots and talk shit. And they have to go around and put a disclaimer and say they're not talking about said writer of peace because people don't realize they was talking the shit. So now they got to now put a disclaimer and rehash and revise the shit. I'm not stupid. I've been seeing a lot of different people show their ass this week. And it's interesting to me because in media, specifically in journalism, and what I do as a profession, as a black writer, right? Let me be very clear. I'm going to make several points. One, I don't talk for every black person. There are some black people that went to Dîner and Blanc and they like it. And they're annoyed with my article. They feel guilty. They feel bad. They feel some type of way about it. They don't like it. Okay. White people, stop telling me about the black person that you saw at Dîner and Blanc. I don't give a fuck. I was one of those black people several years ago. Okay, your point. There was so much black excellence, one white journalist said. You don't get to say what black excellence is. Pipe the fuck down. What you saw was some black people having a good time. No one's questioning the fact that in elitism, in classism, that various communities can partake in those things. Y'all just thought that because black people were there that made the shit okay? Or that, sometimes places like Dîner and Blanc and their PR people are calling black folks the last minute to come and giving them invitations because, some of the black people y'all saw there, some of them, granted they've been going every year. But some of them were last minute invites and calls. And some were invited that rejected the call after reading my article. Haha. I know that fact too. Say that for later. Saw that, know that, heard that, saw those emails and receipts. And those DMs that y'all put in people's Instagrams. Saw it all, sis. Okay? So, moving past that point. Black people, as a black person, as a black journalist, I'm writing from my experiences as a black person. That's just what it is. I don't speak for every black person. There are some black people that love Dîner and Blanc. They're going to defend it on down. Listen, there's black people that defend everything else. They defend Martha's Vineyard. They defend the cops. Listen, and we're still black. And we still live in a world that deals with white supremacy. And we're going to be able to have different opinions, okay? Period. So when I say white people stop telling about the black people you saw at the event, please don't do that. Because the reality is that I'm not talking about the implications within the event itself. I'm talking about what it does externally. And two things can be true, right? It can be an event that's diverse, but it can be an event that still perpetuates elitism and also don't do as much as it can for the community. And black people can still be there, and your point. Like, I just think it's this gotcha. I saw a lot of black people. The fact that you got to go find black folks at a party, take pictures, and you know what's crazy is that the racism in the industry, right? Everybody who was doing photography for Dîner and Blanc, just put it out there. I saw the same subset of black folks that was there in everybody's pictures. Like, y'all literally went out y'all way to take pictures of black people to make it a point to say black folks were there. But y'all, It is a bunch of white people at that damn. Like, there are black people. I'm not saying there's no black people, but it is not an all black event. It is not a mostly black and brown event. Hell, it's probably maybe 20% diverse. Okay, and they sprinkle through. But the pictures will have you think, listen, there were like all black tables and a couple of Beckys with black boyfriends. Like, stop playing. Like, stop it. Like, there are black folks that go. I was there, y'all. I saw the people. But it is mostly white. It is mostly white. And I know for a fact that those organizers will specifically invite and cherry pick black folks who did not get on the list or couldn't get on the list and give them a free invitation to go so they can help diversify with known black folks. Because that's the other thing. The influencers, for many years, there was not a lot of diverse black influencers in media being invited. With the exception of me and Alex Holly and maybe 2 or 3 other folks, it wasn't that much diversity in the media group to go. So don't even try to play representational politics with me when it comes to that argument. It just doesn't work. And it doesn't even matter. Because again, here's what do. As a black person, as a black queer person, millennial, I want to share my experience of what I think the world looks like in front of me. Do I speak for every black person? No. Do I speak for every queer person? No. But last time I checked, y'all don't ask white journalists who they speak for. Because they're never asked to, right? That's the anti-blackness that shows from black people, other black people, and from everybody else. Is that no other type of journalist that's not black or brown has to answer those questions. There's no expectation or invitation for me as a black columnist, right? As an individual in my own respective community, I am never asked. I never heard a white columnist be asked, what community are they writing for? Normally when David Brooks writes, David Brooks is talking about himself. Okay, Maureen Dowd is referring to her life and her experiences. But somehow Ernest Owens has to be everybody's voice, everybody's idea, everybody's ideology. And the moment there's a counter black person that has a different opinion than Ernest Owens, then all of a sudden, then my opinion is not valid? Or it doesn't matter because you done found another black person? Because see, I'm going to get there. Y'all know what I'm doing. Y'all see where this is going. Because I'm going to lay this shit out, and I'm going to lay it on the table today, and I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Normalize hearing black voices that are speaking for themselves. Normalize individual black people having experiences that can make an impact without you automatically equating it to collective interest. It does not always align. It can, but it don't always have to. There are experiences as a black queer person that I'm speaking of that I feel. And as a columnist, I can only share what I feel. I've been someone who has traveled, who has been well read and educated about things, and I'm sharing my perspectives on it, and the work I've done has led to institutional change. Those are receipts that you cannot deny. Those are facts that are just there. Check the bills, check the stats. We're just not even going to play with me today. But that's the thing that I get to, is that all of the reality of what happened this week with Dîner Blanc. I wrote one op-ed. There were several white writers, bloggers in the Philadelphia area that also had different takes. There was one from Crossing Broad that said Dîner Blanc was a cult. There were other people that shared their thoughts in other spaces. But no one seemed to really be focused on the other editorials and pieces that came out about Dîner Blanc. Billy Penn wrote a really good in-depth piece that criticized and made some of the points I was making about Dîner Blanc over the years. Nobody, came for those pieces. Nobody came for those white writers. Nobody came for those white bloggers. Nobody came for those people. They came for Ernest. They came for the black queer guy who wrote it in Philly Mag, because the audience of Philly Mag is wide, right? It's not so much to simply say you disagree, but people made it personal. People went Karen. People called some of the editors and emailed people and did all this. They thought this was a problem. This was the hill they wanted to die on. They wanted to, act like there was an injustice or some level of journalistic, lack of ethics and things. And it's so funny because people somehow, when black and brown voices speak up, somehow everybody wants to then act like they know something about journalism, or they know something about the law, or they know something about morals and everything. All of a sudden, people become very much like Karens. They turn into Karens when black people say opinions and ideas that they don't believe. It's interesting because Subakowski, right, and Christine Flowers used to be columnists at the Inquirer, used to say all kind of problematic shit. And I've never seen the level of vitriol and energy and outrage and scandal that they wrote. They wrote shit for weeks that used to just be toxic and horrible, just horrible stuff, in my opinion. But I guess everybody just tolerated it, right? It was, it's their right to free speech. You know, Dave Chappelle can say all the transphobic jokes, and you will see these same people say, his free speech. You know, but let me talk about privilege and classism and elitism and race, and all of a sudden it's divisive, it's problematic, it's offensive. You're a Debbie Downer, you're a killjoy. It's interesting how people like to pivot towards putting in this mob mentality around black and brown voices in media. They've been doing this shit since the 1900s. They've been doing this shit before then. They did it when the North Star came out back in the day, when Frederick Douglass wanted to push out a paper to talk about slavery. They did it to Ida B. Wells when she was covering lynchings. They've been doing this shit forever. They've done it to Asa Moore when he was first starting to inquire back in the 60s. They've been doing it to Chuck Stone, legends before me, Reggie Bryant when he was talking about racism and black perspectives on the radio. I come off the back of giants, black giants in journalism that been through these issues, that fought these fights from Mary Mason all the way down. Some of these people y'all should just look up that dealt with the same types of energy. They got it from some black people, they got it largely from white people, and it was always people that just was mad because they said something that made them uncomfortable or made them upset or made them annoyed. And rather than just sit in that discomfort, the decision was, oh no, we have to fight to silence this person or attempt to silence this person. We gotta, stop this from happening. But again, if you look around, nobody's getting that heat across the board except for someone like myself. I was not the only person that shit talked about General Blanc and criticized it. But yet I was the one that was put publicly in this way that targeted me in ways that led to online cyber harassment and things. And people say, oh, that comes with the job. Let me tell you something. What comes with the job, right, let's be clear, is the check, is the work and attention. But what does not come with the job is me tolerating the disrespect that is unhealthy. No, that don't come with the job. Is it a haphazard? Sure. But what does not come with it is me tolerating it. So, yes, I block people. Yes, I do. I block folks. I do. I unfollow people. Yes, I unfriend people. Yes, I see your shady shit sometimes. And some of the people that like to tag me to post, I just block because I don't read. Like, you get people that want to tag, but they want you to see people shit talking. And I'm just kind of like, I don't need to see it. Because the gag is, I look at the views, right? I get thousands upon thousands of people that read the articles and share the content. My work here is done, right? I write the piece. I say what I say what I want to say outside of that. But that's my space. I don't have to engage with people who are going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to subject myself to being tagged to post so people can tell me how they feel on Facebook on a public spectrum and say and call me out my name and say everything else that does not have anything to do with the subject matter of the story. No, I don't have to engage in that kind of way. I don't have to accept or tolerate disrespect. You don't like something? Okay, wonderful. Cool. But what you're not going to do is call me out my name. What you're not going to do is expect me to have conversations with you at 1 o'clock at night when you decide to send paragraphs. I don't read the paragraphs, baby. I just delete and I block. Because I don't have to engage in that kind of way. And neither do you have to engage with me. Like, you can literally unfollow me on Twitter. You can literally block me on social media. You can literally not read my articles. You could also do that too. Like, let me be clear. It can go both ways. Trust me, there are people out here who be like, I don't want to see nothing on Ernest's timeline. Wonderful. Block me. Please do. Because I'll block you if you disrespect me. Like, that's just how we move here. So I just think it's interesting that there are people that just expect folks to just engage with them. And then when they don't engage, do you understand that I have had to send out restraining orders and cease and desist to certain people over the years of my career? Like, there were certain people. There was a man Not even gonna name him and get into it all, but he used to like be obsessed with me. Several men have been obsessed with me in inappropriate ways where they would literally message me, email me, and all this stuff. So I had a guy who he was writing, he was reading my stuff, and I wrote something about a topic he didn't like, and he wanted to meet me and talk to me about it. And I was like, no, that's not necessary. Like I rejected that because safety. I was like, no, but we can, you can share your views. He shared his views. I respectfully, and this is years ago. I don't do this shit anymore. But years ago, he did. So he shared his thoughts, and I said to him, well, hey, I don't agree with that, and I share my points. I left it alone. So after that, every single thing my name was on social media, he had to come in and just completely say something trashy about me, just something negative, whatever, just something that was just counterproductive. And he kept tagging me and just wanting attention from me more. So I just was like, I'm not responding to this, man. I blocked it from everything. It got to the point where he faxed or contacted one of my editors and was just like calling them, telling them basically how he wanted me to talk to them, and he asked me he wanted to tell me. And mind you, I never shared the experience to my editors at the time because I was dealing with this individually. And they hit me up and said, hey, there's this guy, his name is so. He says he really wants to get in contact with you and this, that, there. So I had to explain to him that I was being stalked. I was basically being harassed. And my lawyer had to send a cease and desist letter, and the person went away, and, I've never spoken to them again. But that was just like one example. There's been several since where I've had to do that. And so you got to understand where I'm coming from. Or don't. But I come from years of being in this industry. I know that there are people who are not just reading these articles and then letting that slide. There are people that are obsessive. They have other issues with themselves. And they use these things as scapegoats to try to get contact or to try to, say or do more. And so for me, the days of me thinking I can have a conversation one at a time, I just don't do that anymore because there's no, there's no point. Like, I can't argue with every person or debate every person about my fucking opinion. You read it, you agree, you disagree, you put it away. What do y'all do? I mean, let's be clear. There are tons of opinion writers across the country. Do you do this to every opinion writer? Or is this just the black queer ones y'all choose? Like, do y'all, because I know y'all, I mean, there's clearly other people, but there are people writing opinion pieces in Philadelphia every single day. And I don't think they ever get the same level. Now, I talked to other black columnists, right? Elizabeth Wellington, Janice Armstrong, and they've had some knuckleheads over the years that have tried them. But I will also say, there's no shade to them in their work, but there's the way they write is a little bit more innocuous than me. Like, they don't really go hammer like I do. And they've told me that. They'll message me and say, like, I don't know how you do it. And sometimes I don't know how I do it. But there is something about what I choose to write about and what I want to talk about that gets the girls in their feelings. I get it. I guess. They say it gets the people going. But at the same time, I do have to put up my boundaries. And I have to put up my limits. And that's just what I do. Like, I'm not going to spend all day educating and arguing and all this with people. I just don't. And my whole thing is that most of the time, people just want access. There's people that literally will look at screenshots and messages I've had with them, and I've heard they will screenshot and send their friends, like, look, Ernest responded back to me. It's like, that's what you wanted? Like, that's what you wanted, some attention? You felt special? You wanted a moment? You mad? You jealous? You bitter? What you doing? It's giving. It's giving a lot of that. And it's annoying because I just want to go out and do my job and do my thing. Like, I want to go out and share experiences and thoughts. And listen, people can talk and debate. Fine with that. But, like, I don't need to necessarily subject myself to anything else. So people that's like, oh, he can't stand the heat. No, I don't have to deal with the fucking heat in the kitchen. Like, if we want to reshift the conversation around mental health, right? It's funny that no one prioritizes black people's mental health. Black people have to literally prioritize their own self-care in these situations. Black people have to. Like white. It's so funny. Like, people will be like, oh my goodness, like, we should power on to this quote unquote person that's getting quote unquote canceled or whatever they're dealing with, the conversations are always centered around white fragility, right? But no one's like actually like, I don't need, and let me be very clear, because this is also the condescending thing. I don't need white people to be like, "Are you okay?" Please don't ask me if I'm okay. You don't have a solution. If you don't have a solution to it, don't ask me. Just don't fuck with me. And I mean, just fuck with me. Like, don't be annoying. That's the best way you could be. Anybody, homophobes, cishet people, just don't be annoying. Don't do the, I just want to check in. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm moving. To be very clear, as a black queer person, I have no other choice but to exist. That's just what I've come to understand. I have no choice but to exist. I have no choice but to exist in my truth because this is my salvation. And I think the reality is that too many people are thinking that everyone is given the same barometer and metric of how they assess their success or what they want to accomplish. I didn't do this to be liked by a lot of people. To be an opinion writer, to be black, to be queer, to be millennial, to be young, gifted, and talented means that you walk into the wider world as a threat to people. Because they question, how could you? How do you? And then they'll assess it, right? Because this is a deeper conversation, clearly. Like, I look at some of the things. I was talking to my friend Chris. We went to Stina during the night of Dîner in Blanc. I didn't go to Dîner in Blanc, clearly. We did Dîner Noir. We went to Stina, which is this great spot in South Philly. Great pizza, but they have the best specials. There was a squid ink pasta with these big, shrimp, prawns. Oh my God, it was prawns, and heirloom tomatoes. Anyway, it was phenomenal food. It was definitely better than what they was probably having down there. But one of the things that I was talking to him about, and it was such a great, I'm still thinking about that dinner now. We tore up though. We ate everything in there. But one of the things that I talked to him about was just talking about the levels of where we are in this now, okay, post Black Lives Matter 2020 racial uprising, where are the realizations that people are still wrestling with? And so I said that I think in 2020, white people for the 3,000th time, but in the reckoning, we're dealing with the reality of an unequal society, right? So they recognize white privilege exists. They recognize that there were people who were being picked over by others, and they can acknowledge the racial discrimination in that. But now there's a new chapter that I think we are in these conversations that they're starting to really struggle with. And they're struggling with the realization around inequity and mediocrity. Oh yes, the big words. So one of the things that I remember hearing a lot in 2020 that didn't sit well with me, but was that everyone kept talking about equality, which by all means, yes, equal rights, equal protections. So the mindset back then in 2020, a lot of the conversations was that, oh, we need to increase diversity because black people were not being included in the room. And so the mentality was then that we just need to increase more black representation. Okay, cool. Now let's move forward to 2022. What we're seeing now is that we're still having that conversation. But what is happening is that black people who are being in these spaces now are recognizing the mediocrity of a lot of the white people that are there. So when we was talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, the reality of can we live in a society where black people can lead, can be with an authoritative voice, can occupy spaces that were previously held by white people without white people feeling like they need to be in the room to monitor. And that's where we currently are right now, is the struggle of white people in some of these spaces recognizing that not only, where there are unfair advantages that did not allow for black and brown people to be in a room, but they're also struggling with the reality of, oh, I don't need to be in this room. I'm not as qualified. That the white privilege of me getting here was not even privilege for me to just get in, but it was also the privilege of not being as qualified, but still getting in. And so now there's a group of people who are mediocre as fuck, who don't deserve to be in the same spaces that I do and other people that are actually smarter and better and more talented are. But they're now wrestling with the fact that, wow, damn it, I'm here. I'm not that good. And I'm really here because I'm white. And the black folks that were in the room not because they just weren't as qualified, but they actually were the people that should have had my job, and I have their job. That's where we are at. And that self-recognition, acknowledgement, and wrestling is a hard pill for a lot of white people to swallow. And I'm noticing in my own spaces in the industry and in the space I'm occupying that there are white people that are trying so hard to try to humble someone like me because they feel inadequate. So what I mean is they'll say things to me like, well, you've gone to elite places too. Am I not supposed to go to anything? I'm sorry. Are you bothered that the black person got the Penn degree? And you're saying to me, oh, well, you got a Penn degree, as if I'm not supposed to have that. Let me explain something to you all. I got there on a scholarship. Okay? I applied. And I went because I didn't have to pay financial aid compared to if I went to an HBCU, I would have been owing Sally Mae. I'm just keeping it 100. The financial aid opportunities for HBCUs are not there as much because they don't have big ass endowments as a lot of PWIs and Ivy institutions. So you want to talk about me going to Penn? Yeah, I went to Penn because it was the most affordable option I had. Okay? And when I went to Penn, it was not lollipops and roses. Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, I spoke out. Yeah, I dealt with it, but I also dealt with a lot of microaggressions, homophobia, and racism as well. And some anti-blackness from people that looked like me. Let's put it all on the table. Okay? I dealt with a lot of that. Classism, all of that. Okay? You think that just because a black person is in an elite space that automatically they don't deal with the same issues? Whether I'm black in an elite space or a public service office, I'm still going to be treated the same way. So if you thought you was proving a point or you one up me, because white people like to talk about class without talking about how race still impacts class. So they'll sit up and say, oh, Ernest went to these fancy restaurants, so I'm not supposed to go anywhere? What are you implying? Like, it does not stop it does not address the elephant in the room. Like, am I not, like, I'm just curious. People was like, oh, well, Ernest goes to fancy stuff, and, well, you're mad about dinner and Blanc, but you went to a spa before. I'm like, so you decided to just, compare apples and oranges, and I'm supposed to just be what? Some brother who just don't do anything. Like, I don't, I went to a fancy restaurant. Ernest goes to fancy restaurants. He can't talk about classism and equity because you are a black person that go to nice restaurants. Granted, I go because a lot of it is because I'm media, but I'm gonna let you know. But I'm just I'm living like a white man. I'm living like a white man to these people. Oh, because in their mind, to be black and to speak on inequity and issues mean that you have to have none of those things, because if you do, then somehow your points are not valid. Do we see how stupid that sounds? And again, those are standards that are being held and reinforced by white people to black people, but not to the white people that do the same thing. Because to the white people that run around here talking about racial inequity, and talking about injustice and all those things, right? No one is counting their money and no one is counting where they're going and where they're living. But let a black person do, and somehow there's an expectation that we are not supposed to be in any position of power or voice. The irony is that had I not had the Penn degree, had I not had these access to power, I wouldn't have had the platform to call out these injustices. You're getting something now. You're getting what I'm saying now? That in reality, black people like myself have to actually work twice as hard to get in these institutions, to do all these things, to then show up into a space where most of the white people I'm around don't even have the comparable levels of education and things that I have, and have some of them get paid comparable to me or higher, but because of privilege in society, they're elevated. And I have to work twice as hard to just be in that same space. I'm not complaining because I'll be smart all day. But if you think for 5 seconds that you can compare the things I do to what the fuck you do, please check yourself every fucking chance you get. Because that's just not how the world works. And there's a lot of black people listening to this podcast right now that understand what I'm talking about. And it's funny because everybody acts like a black person like me have to be a saint that I have to be a fucking martyr for the cause, or I have to be some person that has to be agreed upon everybody. But I see so much white mediocrity in media where they don't even have to make sense half the time, and everybody lets them exist. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about the fact that we lived in a media world where Christine Flowers and Stu Bukowski got to have opinions every week that was shitty as fuck, and nobody ever gave them the level of expectation that they need to, be responsible for the white community, or that everything they said had to align. But you got black people out here, and Philadelphia is so problematic and fucked up that they got to let people know, oh, I'm not the black person who agrees with Ernest Owens. Because somehow the white person you telling that to, you think they're going to see you any differently than me? Ciao, bye. Ciao, bye. Ciao, please. They don't care. They really don't care. Because the funny part is they still reading the shit. I see the views and the page numbers. We always get a hit over here. But I think it's funny because for all of the energy that's given to me, little old me, which, I mean, it's flattering but annoying and sometimes exhausting. But the energy that's given to me, I'm like, you don't give that energy to your elected officials? Where's the energy for your state reps, your city council people? Where's your energy, your outrage? Where's your need to send emails? Are you emailing your city council people about these damn townhomes? Go do that. Because the energy you're spending bitching about me to my inbox, because I think people think that when they send those emails, all emails about me goes directly to me. Do you think all of my people in my news, you think the folks in my newsroom are sitting up like, yeah, listen, baby, listen, sweetheart, I've been at the same Philadelphia publication for 7 years. I love where I'm at. I love being editor-at-large there because I'm in a space where my black voice gets heard and I get to have control and autonomy and creative control of how I articulate my ideas. My articles are my topics, my ideas, my voice. Okay? I write my words, I write my rhymes. These are my stories, these are my experiences. My editors polish, but they don't publish. You see what I'm saying? They don't write my words. My words are mine, my viewpoints are mine, my headlines, everything that I write that you all read, that is what I want to be seen. Nothing goes up that I've written that I don't give a thumbs up to, that I don't feel comfortable. Anything I feel uncomfortable with, I have the agency to say, yep, I'm taking that out, or I don't want to put that in. Like, that's what it looks like. It is hard for a lot of people to recognize that a lot of black journalists in this country do not have the same benefit or favor. I am clearly a rare species in an industry that oftentimes do not allow people like me to do what I do. So I understand the culture shock it is for white people to every week look at a publication like Philadelphia Magazine and see this out, proud, loud, unapologetically black queer person talk about the city and their perspectives on it and have the ability to let it be read by thousands of people every week. It must kill them because they want to put a muzzle or a noose on whatever the fuck I'm saying every fucking week. And it makes them upset that they cannot. Let's get into the hatred. There is a lot of bigotry and hatred. There's deep settled. Some people can say, oh, it's simply I don't agree. No, but why is it that you got the strongest opinion about the black person now? Listen. We see it happen in sports. We see it happen in entertainment. We see it happen in politics. There's a lot of reserved energy for black people in these respective spaces than it is. I mean, let's talk about it. Like Lizzo and Beyonce, right? They use the word spaz, which is a very ableist term in both of their songs, right? In their albums. Both of them were criticized, right? They removed the lyric immediately, right? Everything was cool. But the disabled community, mostly white folks, dominated the conversation and went after Beyonce and Lizzo aggressively. But when Big Time Rush had their song title called Paralyzed, oh, this white band didn't get none of the smoke for using that. And people called out the hypocrisy. What I'm saying is that in progressive spaces, in political spaces, and media spaces, black people are oftentimes always getting the double standard attention and targeting. And I just want y'all to know that I know that exists. I see it. I see it with you all. You all see it with me. Y'all DM me. Some of y'all get in my DMs and be like, did you see that? Did you hear that? Did you read that? Isn't that interesting? Listen, I see everything, y'all. I know about that certain somebody who said what they said on Facebook. And here, at the end of the day, if that was the hill that they wanted to die on, you know, this individual who takes their job very seriously, snap. But they just decided that they wanted to just go in about, you know, people criticize Dîner and Blanc. I'm like, yo, if you had this much energy for homelessness or food insecurity with a platform as big as yours, you would have been able to save the world by now. But you'd rather talk about a stupid all-white party that people gonna still go to next year and be a hot mess. I mean, is this really what is this where you want to be from? That's what I have to tell myself and ask myself. But you see a lot of people showing their ass and stuff. I just know that what I learned from this week, as I was reminded, yet again, that what I do is unique and what I do is special, and what I do and how I do it is still an unsolved mystery. It's still a gift. It's still something that gets the girls riled up. It keeps the people going. And, you know, when it's all said and done, I'm grateful to be able to do it. But at the same time, I'm a full human. I'm not going to fake and act like some of the disrespect is okay. It's not. It's not. But it's not discouraging me. I'm going to keep talking shit. I'm going to keep writing when I'm writing. I'm going to keep telling stories. But it's also the human ability to be able to say, yeah, this ain't just glitter, y'all. This isn't just good news, great news. There's also moments where people do show their ass and do something that's completely downright stupid. That there are people that are racist in the business. Like, you all see it like I see it. Y'all know, and y'all see it. And we all do, right? And what I want to say is that I'm not somebody who, like, acts like those things don't exist. I know there are people that check that stuff out. I check out about 90% of the noise. But I'm also recognize that that's what comes with everything. That there's no separation. That in the midst of higher success comes more people feeling like they could just, you know, come at you because you're different. Because they don't do it to the rest of the white boys. Because I'm not a white boy. They don't do it to them as much. I see it. I see stuff, and they'll be nervous too. Like, when I see other white reporters, like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared that if I write this, they're going to, I'm like, they're not doing that because you're white. But if I do it, I know it's going to be different. And you know what? Every time I knew that, I never said no. Because I knew that if it was that lethal to cause a shakeup, it was that powerful and necessary to be told. And what I said about Dîner and Blanc need to be said. Somebody read it, it meant something to somebody. Somebody saw it and it made an impact in its own way. Somebody read it and thought about it. I know there are people who came to me privately, messaged me and told me that they're not going to do Dîner and Blanc next year because, you know, it just made them think about things differently. It changed their perspective. Then there were some people that said, I'm going to keep going forever. Cool. Keep paying money to move your shit. If that's what you want to do. You ain't harming me. I don't know why people be acting like it's just so, people are like childish. You think these are grown asses? They be like, I've been going to Dîner and Blanc and I'm going to keep going. Congratulations. You're going to wear all white again. Wonderful. Groundbreaking. Like, I don't know why they think it's like me, but you know, but that's how they do. A black person just cannot have an opinion that's different without people feel like they got to bring out the truth. Like, it's me. Like, they're like, poor little Dîner and Blanc. They really act like this goddamn multi-million-dollar white international company is like literally about to be racked and shook because one black columnist said something about them in Philadelphia. And so everybody act like they had to defend the whole entire company. The company, I guess, paid them to take photos. Oopsie. But like, that's just, again, cherry picking. And all I'm going to say is some people, they're going to find out in their own way. And I'm just going to say, God bless them. That's all I'm going to say on that. Case closed. Moving along. So, Annie Leibovitz, who is this photographer, legendary photographer at Vanity Fair, has taken so many interesting photos, good and bad, But really has been coming under scrutiny lately around her photography around black women. She's done photos this year for Val Demings and more recently Ketanji Jackson Brown. And I just gotta say, these photos, I mean, her old photos of Viola Davis, these are not good photos. Now, let me say this first, because some people was not understand. I went viral for a tweet comparing the photography that she did on Viola Davis because the conversation about Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown was brought up. So I want to be clear about my concerns around those photos. The photos themselves, the concepts of the photos, are not bad. Now Demi's on a motorcycle is pretty dope. Ketanji over there at the Lincoln Memorial, interesting. But it's the lighting for me. It's the fact that after all these years, Annie has not gotten her, not gun, but Annie, go grab your filter. The lighting on the dark black skin in her photography is just horrible. She makes them look darker than they are, or it's this weird level where they're so dark in the photos, or they're darkened with bad lighting that their skin don't glow. I had to sneeze of how bad it was. I was allergic to the mediocrity of it all. But it's just one of those things where I'm looking at the photography and I look at other photos of these individuals. I'm like, there is a better way to lighten, to give height. Now we're not saying lighten the people's skin, their complexion. But in photography and shading, there's special ways to allow black, dark skin to be seen and to look accurate, right? Like when I see a dark-skinned black person in person, they often look radiant. Like there's a radiance, there's a glow, there's a vibe, right? These photos don't show that radiance and vibe. At least her lens are not doing that. Now I know she has a certain aesthetic, but she's got to adjust her aesthetic to make sure that the melanin shows. Because her aesthetic that she do for like white, subjects, she does the same type of filters and things, but the skins are different there. The lighting and effect that she do there is different. Like I've seen her do photos on Meryl Streep that are gorgeous, but somehow when she gets with dark skin, characters, subjects that just don't fit. So it made me just say that this is the issue with the media, right? Why is it that she's like the only person that gets to have those assignments? Why are we not giving other black photographers the opportunity to do these photos? And more black photographers, not just Mitchell, because he's also great, but like other black photographers out here to get a shot. Because when I look at Essence, when I look at these other magazines, they know how to do it. But somehow, when we get to the Vanity Fairs and the Vogues, then that's when things start slipping. And that's a problem. That's a problem that we accept this because this is the standard. That we can't say, let's break new habits, or let's just teach Annie how to do a better job, or let's just get a black photographer and get somebody that's a really good opportunity to do this kind of work. Because she's been jacking up these photos for years now. I can see if it was one photo or two photos, but she's been doing this for a while, and it's just like gotten to the point where everyone's kind of like, this is the best we can do? Vanity Fair? And I have a Vanity Fair subscription, so I can talk shit. Because I actually do have some magazine subscriptions, okay? Because, I mean, look, I write for a magazine. I should support other magazines. So, that's just stuck to me. And I don't know. I just feel like the photography, just give the girl some radiance, some melanin, please. Thank you. Versus is currently in court. I don't want to get too much into all of this because I'm just going to say, I feel like Versus, y'all remember Versus. I feel like Versus as a concept with Timbaland and Swizz Beatz was like super dope during the pandemic, but lately it has just begun to falter for several reasons, many reasons that I just can't even go all in depth with, but it's faltered for a while. But that being said, outside of that, right, it's faltered for a while, but now they're suing Thriller, who they sold Versus to. When everybody saw that transaction, I told people that it was going to be a flop at that point. Well, they're claiming they haven't gotten paid their money, Swizz and Timbaland. So Versus, as we know it, is on hiatus because, for what we know, they were still owed a payment. But it's like you sold the culture. You sold the culture. You pimped it out. And so apparently Jermaine Dupri and Diddy want to do a Versus, but they want to do it outside of the Thriller concept because of the fact that Swizz and Timbaland didn't get their money. But I'm like, yo, you thought you was gonna get paid? And I heard they're owed millions of dollars. But it's just like, damn. Capitalists. So we'll see what happens there. Now, speaking of capitalism and bad declines, HBO Max and this Discovery Channel, Discovery merger, or whatever. I mean, listen. I'm just gonna say this. They done took over 200 episodes of Sesame Street off. Apparently, they're going to. Lots of other channels are going away. A lot is changing at HBO Max. They're not doing. They're focusing on men. I think more male-centered entertainment. They're cutting back on child or young programming. So they killed this Crudités show. It was a Latinx series that was really vibrant, very very age appropriate and just filled of love. And they're now killing that show. Even though the show was doing pretty good, I heard. But they're killing that show. They're killing a lot of stuff. It's giving Netflix energy. But we knew this day was going to happen. After the pandemic, after the big boom of streaming during the pandemic, people are going back to work. People, chilling. People kind of getting off these streaming things. I mean, subscription. I mean, am I going to have to cut some subscriptions at the end of this year? I don't know. I haven't done anything yet. But I'm starting to feel like, man, HBO Max should be top tier for me. Now I'm hearing a lot of stuff has changed. I'm like, and then Netflix is a little irky. I have Netflix, but I don't know the last time I watched Netflix. I think I don't have Netflix anymore. That's why I haven't used it. That's why, because I haven't seen anything on Netflix. I haven't had Netflix since all the bullshit happened with the community. Yeah, so Netflix is gone. HBO Max I've been holding on to. What else have I had? I have Hulu still. I can't even keep up. Oh, Disney Plus I have, which I don't even look. I just have Disney Plus because there are times where I just want to just watch something mindless. So like the other night I was watching The Parent Trap and remembered that the same actress in Abbott Elementary was also in The Parent Trap. Yes, the white Italian teacher in Abbott Elementary, she was also in The Parent Trap like over 20 years ago. And pretty much looks the same for the most part, except she dyed her hair. But but what a movie. Dennis Quaid. Remember when Dennis Quaid was like respected and a decent actor? And then Lindsay Lohan, before Lindsay Lohan, Land. I like Disney Plus strictly for the nostalgia. Like I could just watch The Jungle Book whenever I want to. I have it for those purposes. But who else got streaming services out there? Like I have not got it on Discovery Plus or Paramount Plus. It's like Paramount Plus. I don't have Paramount Plus. I've heard some good things, but I don't need it. They say there's like a whole, you can watch all the Love and Hip Hop episodes, but I've already seen them all, so I don't really need to actually like go back and watch the show again. But people like it. I think Bravo's on there, some of the reality shows. But I have actual cable. I have Xfinity Stream, so I keep up with the shows. So, there's that. As far as music go, y'all, it hasn't really been any major music I've been listening to outside of Beyonce's Renaissance album. I don't know. I'll wait till the fall. The only thing that's been playing in my house has been Renaissance by Beyonce, and I keep finding new songs I like and for different reasons. So that's what I've been doing over here. Meg Thee Stallion's Traumazine. I called it Traumatized last week. It's Traumazine, which I didn't pick up on because you see a word but you don't really. Yeah, it's Traumazine. It's like magazine with trauma with magazine combined. It's called Traumazine. It's a word she made up clearly. That album's there. Mr. Johnson, he's a big Meg Thee Stallion fan. I'll say this, and I said this before. I mean, I like her as a person. I like her. I believe that a voice and a presence like hers in the industry is long overdue and necessary. But I could get a feel of her. After 2 songs, Meg songs, I get a little tired. Personally. There's some artists where you can listen to nonstop. And there's some artists that you just like, I I just need about 2 or 3 songs back to back, and then after that, I'm good. Like, I don't need a concert. I don't need to go to the concert personally, but you know, but there's people like that. There's people that love her. Some artists, I just feel like I just need to listen to about 2 or 3 songs, and after that, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I got my fix. And some folks, clearly, I can leave on from beginning to end because that's just how good I like their music, personally. Love and Hip Hop is back. Been watching. Love and Hip Hop, listen. It's getting good. It's getting juicy. Very, very early. Atlanta and Miami. But Atlanta specifically. I mean, Young Jock, if you've been following this, I don't want to give away too much, but Young Jock is getting married to, Kendra, who's that attorney from Atlanta that seems like a sweet Southern belle. Well, it just looked like he out here cheating. And apparently, while they were dating, it seemed like he had a whole affair behind the scenes. It's giving messy, and we don't know what's going to happen. I think the next episode coming is going to be him giving his vows, and they're going to do their vows, or I guess they're going to marry. I think the wedding's going to happen then, but apparently she's crying already, emotional. Let me just say this. I'm just going to say this. And maybe I'm not the best. Well, I'm going to give this. I'm going to make it gender neutral because I've seen people from both orientations and relationship dynamics do it. Don't force a marriage. Don't. I was just talking to a friend about this. Do not force a marriage. Do not obligate someone. Do not make someone be obligated. Don't put pressure. Don't. If there is a clock that you have and you feel like you want that by then for yourself, and if that person just does not seem as interested or invested, then you have to reprioritize that on your own terms. You need to have a discussion about marriage, but have the conversation about marriage rather than all of the passive-aggressive teasers. So there needs to be a situation where you just need to sit down, because I don't know what people are out here doing. I can tell you about what Mr. Johnson and I did, but I will tell you all what I see other people do. They get in relationships with people. They invest a lot of time and energy. We move in together. We live in the house together. We gonna share things. We gonna do this. We gonna do that. We gonna pay bills. Your account's connected to my account. Blah, 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 blah. They do all of that, but they don't have a conversation about marriage. Because they assume that, if I just do all the things, if I perform hubby, if I perform wifey, then they'll see me as such, and therefore it will happen. That's not how people work. That's just not how it should be either, right? We are humans. We speak, use our vowels, use our nouns, use our words, use them, people. Have a conversation. And the problem I think that I'm noticing with a lot of people, especially my generation when it comes to dating, is that there's a lot of anxiety around having these tough conversations, but there's a lot of energy around being passive-aggressive towards those discussions. It takes more energy and more weight to be passive-aggressive about the things that mean the most to you than it is to expend all the energy in dropping hints and subtle hints. I think you should preserve the energy and the focus on actually having a mature conversation. And the reality is that so many people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of not hearing what they want to hear. So therefore, they do everything to avoid it or to try to spin it in some way that's favorable to them. No. That's a sham. You're already walking into what could be a horrible situation. At the end of the day, you have the conversation. If a person says that they are interested in marriage, that is something on the table, then that's how you can proceed forward. If you don't have a conversation with your partner about marriage and the time or what the ideas are, you're walking yourself into a trap and disappointment. So let me tell you how we did it over here. Mr. Johnson and I dated for about 2 years. And we, had a good time going out, dating, eating, whatever. Finally, we had a conversation, just it was casual. It's like, hey, we doing pretty good. This relationship and things, what you feeling like? Where's your hand? It was like a conversation about marriage. It's like, how do you see things? And it's like, I was like, I see myself I could, I think we would be a good couple. We could get married. I see marriage for us. He said the same thing. He was like, yeah. So I kind of said to him, I was like, listen, well, who will propose to who? Who will do what? And I think the joke was more like, I don't know who. I think he said when he said he wanted to do it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I said it like this. I said, well, anytime you decide you want to do it, I'll say yes. But don't take too long now, because I would love to do it by I'm 30. Now, mind you, we had this conversation 2016, I was like 25. So I got proposed to 2019. I was 28. Got married at 30. Yep, he proposed to me when I was 28. So that's just what we did. That's just how it was. I mean, that's just how we put it out there. I was like, if whenever you say it, I'll say yes. But I also said, but don't take too long now. I would like to see something by 30. And I got married at 30. He proposed to me 2 years prior. So, and then we spent those 2 years engaged in planning the wedding. But that's just how we did it. It was simple. There was no, the clock is ticking. If you don't do it by now, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't come with that energy. I didn't go to a wedding shower and cry and be unhappy or bitter that someone I thought was my friend was having a good wedding and I was good happy and I wanted that for myself, and so therefore I couldn't be happy for them because I wasn't. I don't know. I'm just. That's just a random. I'm gonna drink my drink. Hold on. I don't know what I'm talking about. I something just came to me. I just thought of like a hypothetical example. But I just would say, I would just say that I didn't do any of the things. It wasn't forced. And that's why I tell people that if you start a relationship on the principles of forcing things, like it's one thing to urge someone to take the trash out. Don't forget to go to the mailbox. It's different on those tasks. But when it comes to life decisions, you have to be sure that if that's the person you're with, and that's the person that you want to be with, and that's who you care about, who you love, and all that jazz, then you need to make the environment hospitable and be in the mindset that you need to communicate that. And you got to be able to be okay with if that person said that's not what they want, then if that's something you want and that's not what they want, then you might have to cut ties. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know women, I know friends, I know dudes, I know that were like, look, there was somebody I know who was just like, look, there was this guy he was dating. They dated for like 4 years. He wanted to get married. He wanted marriage, and this person, just kind of told them that they was not ready for marriage, and that's not what they wanted. And this was a personal, emotional no deal for that person. That's a choice, right? That person said, look, I want a lot more security. I think they wanted it to be more monogamous. I think they wanted a monogamous relationship. And let's be clear, marriage does not have to be monogamous. My marriage is monogamous, but other people have different rules for their relationships, and there's no judgment there. But for this individual, they wanted monogamy. The person they were with did not, and they did not want to get into an open marriage, or they didn't want to have anything of that nature. That was just something they agreed on. And guess what? As respectful adults, they broke up. They're still, cool. They're cordial and respectful. That person moved on, got married to someone else. 2 years after dating, they seem to be happy. The other person, is out doing their thing. They're not married, but they are doing their thing. But they understood that they had a conversation, and it was clear that wasn't going to happen. You got to have these conversations. Period. You got to. And you got to live with the reality that maybe if that person is not up to doing it, then you need to just go ahead and figure out if that's something you still want to stick with or not. But what we can't keep doing is being insufferable. What we can't keep doing is wasting our time. What we can't keep doing is trying to force people to adapt or adjust to things that they don't want to. And so it sucks, right? Because maybe somebody you personally want or love, you wish they loved you or gave you the things that you wanted personally. But maybe that person just can't do that. And you know what? You have to respect people's agency. Now, I know that people out here be wasting people's time. And this, by all means, this segment is not about people that are wasting people's time. Because I know there's some people out here telling people, I want you to be my wife, and I want you to be my man, I love you, baby, and this, that, and the third, but keep on stringing them around, but keep on stringing their dick around and everything in between in these streets. I'm not talking about people. That's just people being manipulative, read the signs, and exit stage left. But I'm talking about people who, in my generation, I'm just noticing this pattern of I'm constantly hearing people do all types of things to drop hints. Stop dropping hints. Have the conversation. Get the answers today. Start figuring out how to move forward. I had the conversation with my man. You know, we both did, actually. Kind of was something we both wanted to talk about. The conversation was good. And I walked away with a ring, and it was not like a, oh my God, I wasn't ready. They weren't ready. We both were. I'm not saying that everybody got to do it the way I do it, but I do think what we can agree on, and I think we should consider, is having the conversations like that, if that's something you're interested in. But I just think spending years and years avoiding the conversation and expecting something miraculous to show might be a little too far-fetched, especially in this generation. So, just putting that out there. Super excited about Abbott Elementary. It's coming back September 22nd. Queen Sugar is coming September 6th. And this weekend, I have been watching, or going to start watching this new series on Zeus. I know Zeus is like a ratchet TV. We've went over this. But it's called Bobby, I Love You, Her. And I am intrigued. I saw a lot of familiar faces in that lineup. It's definitely scripted reality, which is a little cringy, because I like for reality TV to be real. This is very contestant based, and I just feel like a lot of people are just going on to be famous. And that makes me mad about Zeus's reality TV shows, because some of them I do feel like they're, even though it's just, some of it I just get a little bit like, it's just so much clout chasiness on this show. But I'm going to watch it because it's an escape, and I want to see how the people are going to show up. Y'all better have it together. Y'all better, because this is an interesting show. It's giving me Flavor of Love, but black gay men instead. Like, it's like Flavor of Love, but queer and very, very diverse. It's giving that energy. It's giving very much like Flavor of Love, which we all knew was kind of scripted and all that. So I'm watching it with Flavor of Love, old vintage VH1 energy, not The Bachelor's trash, but like a more ratchet Bachelor. But even The Bachelor or Bachelorette, those are both corny to me anyway. So, but it's giving that kind of energy. So we'll see. But I'm super excited with everything that's going on in general. Cannot wait to see what surprises come this week. But as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.